We are live.
Is the account that you sent it from your personal email?
I sent it from the StreamYard site. It said invite, and I put Shannon Sweeney at iHeartMedia.com.
Well, oh, here we go.
Oh, so you see it? Beautiful. So I was worried we'd have to go through customer service or something if it didn't show up.
There it is. Let's see.
Foamfoot 420, a.k.a. Amber, first person in. Welcome in. Let's see, I'm going to adjust this a little bit, I think. Is that the direction? No. Hector Gomez, good morning. I got my booster shot on Friday evening, and as happened last time around with one of them, it laid me out for all of Saturday. Just extreme fatigue. And I planned it. I knew Saturday and Sunday I was relatively free, so I knew I could get away with it. But I am boosterized. Woo! Jeremy wearing his Oklahoma State hoodie, celebrating. Omegatron 66, not happy about Lincoln Riley leaving. Omegatron 66, as a USC alum, I'm happy about the hire. Luisa Alanis, good morning. Anybody else who's in here? I see 6 initially. Here we come. Make sure all my buttons are in place on a Monday morning. John Williams, good morning from Dallas. Woo! 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 Anthony Del Toro, Jorge Chapa Jr., welcome. Yeah, friends of mine don't get the side effects. My mom didn't get side effects. I did. So weird. My goodness gracious. What a Thanksgiving weekend of football, college and pro, with some shockers. I think anytime Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma, that's a shocker. Anytime Michigan beats Ohio State, that's a shocker. Certainly North Texas beating UTSA and beating them convincingly by more than double digits. My goodness, that was a shocker. UTSA head football coach Jeff TRAYLOR joining us early this morning because they've got a practice this morning. He's going to join us in just a few minutes at 6:35. Cowboys losing to the Raiders, I think that was a shocker. And then yesterday afternoon, the shocker of all shockers, I think, of the football weekend, Lincoln Riley of the Oklahoma Sooners going to USC. Shocker, 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 shocker football Thanksgiving weekend. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Shannon, what a crazy weekend that was in college and pro football.
I mean, it's kind of what you expect out of a rivalry weekend from college football, but then you add, as you mentioned, the Cowboys kind of with a weird loss of their own and all of the coaching moves and news that occurred over the weekend. It makes it for an exciting Monday for us, for sure.
Absolutely. And coming up, as I mentioned, Shannon, they've got a practice this morning, which would conflict with our normal time. Usually on Mondays, UTSA head football coach Jeff TRAYLOR joins us at 8:35. So he's been kind enough to jump in here early this morning and still do the interview that he does every week with us. And this can't be his favorite Monday morning to do interviews. Shannon, just a shocker in Denton on Saturday in the rain. UTSA with a lot of turnovers that led to North Texas points, and North Texas wins big and stops the UTSA Roadrunners from having a perfect season. But I will, as I say that, I will underscore it is still the greatest season in program history and an opportunity to still do great things, such as win the conference championship, go on to a bowl game, win that. And I know everybody wants to go undefeated, but so few people do it ever in any level of sports. And I was sad for UTSA, but I think when you back up a little bit after that tough loss, you look at their season, it's still a pretty darn amazing season for that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone wants a perfect season, and no one wanted it more than those players. But it is what it is, and it's a clean slate now. Regular season's over. Everyone's going into these championship games and these bowl games 0-0. So you try to go 1-0 throughout each, and they'll get their turn on Friday. Like you said, we're going to talk to TRAYLOR here early because they're starting. Their schedule has been moved up a day, so that's why they've got their practice this morning. But a historic season, and I've got something in the Shakedown from Coach Saban that he actually said prior to this weekend's games that I thought was great. And then now with what's happened with UTSA, I think it'll put it into perspective for some people who are maybe still trying to get over that loss on Saturday.
And before we move on, and I certainly want to talk about Lincoln Riley's shocking move to USC. In fact, DILLON Emery, the blue-collar sports dad, who's about as rabid and hardcore of an Oklahoma Sooners fan as we know, this side of Andy Everett. And Andy Everett's a big, fan and alum, of course, but not nearly as rabid as the blue-collar sports dad, DILLON Emery, is. He's going to join us just after 8 o'clock. And if his Twitter account is any indication of how he will react with us, I would say fasten your seatbelts and hide the children at 8 o'clock. But if you're on the live video feed, and if you're new to the show, we stream live video across a lot of platforms: Facebook Live, AM 1300 The Zone and Ticket 760's page, YouTube, the Twitter pages for Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone. Jeremy Kolak is a big Oklahoma State guy. He went to Oklahoma State, and as you can see on video, he is proudly wearing the Oklahoma State Cowboys hoodie this morning. Jeremy, not only did Oklahoma State triumph in Bedlam over the weekend, you win the game and you knock Lincoln Riley out of the state of Oklahoma. He will never coach again for an Oklahoma team, as far as we know, in the state of Oklahoma. Dude, your thoughts on the football game and your thoughts on what Lincoln Riley did yesterday.
Well, to be honest, good morning.
Good
Shannon,
morning,
Chris, and everybody, all the listeners. To be honest, I'm still waiting to see if I wake up from some sort of weird dream. This doesn't happen. We don't beat them. We beat them twice in my lifetime before this, and it's been a decade. So, I mean, it was just, how could you have a better weekend from a central northern Oklahoma perspective? You know what I mean? I mean, we it's been a decade since we beat them. 2011 exactly. You got Des Bryant on the sidelines. You know what I mean? He's our new minister of culture. I don't know if y'all heard.
I know I did not. Let's go back to minister of culture.
Unofficially, but I mean, he was on the sidelines, and he went to OSU. So yeah. I don't know what else he's doing nowadays, but he served the role admirably during this past weekend. And then he was in the locker room after the win. He was taking pictures with all the wide receivers and with recruits and stuff. So I think he should be the minister of culture. That's just me.
Okay, I thought it was official. You said that. I thought
someone said it. I can't take credit for it. And then he quote tweeted it and said, "I am the minister of culture." So I
own it.
If he says
what a
it,
Des
move.
What a Des move.
Yeah, and then like you said, to send Lincoln Riley on his way for his last game as an Oklahoma Sooner to be a bedlam loss in T. Boone Pickens' house is just poetic to me. And I like I said, it's euphoric. I'm on cloud nine. I hope I don't wake up from this. And yeah, it was a tremendous weekend. Hope y'all had even just an ounce of as fun as I had this weekend watching things unfold. I will say though, that was the most nervous I have been watching a sporting event in all my 23 years.
Wow.
I mean, not when I've watched every OSU football game as long as I can remember, and that it felt like, you know what? The best way I could put it is it felt like it just meant more. It just felt like it meant more.
Wow.
Last night or Saturday night's win.
Well, and as you put it that way, Jeremy, OSU's only beaten Oklahoma twice in your lifetime. I mean, and for you to say that was as nervous as you've ever been watching a football game in your life, that's so good. And to get the win, I mean, that's so cool. You know, Shannon's Texas Longhorn alum. I'm a USC alum, and even though the Lincoln Riley news benefits USC in a huge way, we both had crappy years the season, so it's nice to see somebody's football team ascend. So how do you feel now, Jeremy, about the prospect of maybe backing in? I know at the moment you're not in the top four, but we've got a new college football playoff poll coming out on Tuesday. I would imagine Oklahoma State's 5 or 6 if some things shake out. You know, if Iowa beats Michigan in the Big Ten championship or some stuff like that happens, I think still a chance for Oklahoma State to get into that thing.
Yeah, I don't want to let my bias get in the way here because I can't stand the Big Ten or you know, whatever. Here, Notre Dame. Here, it's you know, this or that. Personally, I would just love to beat Baylor and win a Big 12 championship in this possibly final year of the Big 12 as we know it. That's kind of my ultimate goal here. And if we happen to get into the college football playoff, that would be tremendous. That would be amazing. And I'm going to be advocating for my squad to get in there, but I don't want to be let down by the committee. I don't want to be let down by human error. I personally miss the computers of the BCS system, but that is long gone. So yeah, I would just love to beat Baylor and take home the Big 12 title trophy.
Shannon, that's an interesting thought.
I don't know yet. I don't have to work out my work schedule.
Use iHeartRadio and sports. You formerly covered Oklahoma State. I feel like you've got some pull there to sign in for a media credential.
Media credential, Jeremy. Use what you got, man. Talk to Brian Gann, get on the phone, send emails out today. Go cover it for us. You're covering it for 2 stations, AM 1300 The Zone in Austin and Ticket 760. Well, you're our correspondent.
Yeah, if you're sending me as the correspondent, I don't know how anybody could say no.
Heck yes.
You know, I think it's important.
But Shannon, when he just said that, I didn't think about this. Think about this. In the final year that now that Lincoln Riley's leaving, and I know it's going to be a year or two still before Oklahoma and Texas go to the SEC. But if Oklahoma State beats Baylor and wins the Big 12 in the final year that Oklahoma had Lincoln Riley, and you've got Texas there with Steve Sarkisian, who will lead Texas into the SEC. I mean, that's some cool bragging rights for Oklahoma State if they can beat Baylor and win the Big 12 championship this year. I don't think a lot of us had, a lot of us picked. I picked Texas versus OU in the Big 12 championship game. A lot of people had OU versus Iowa State. I don't think a lot of people had Oklahoma State winning the Big 12 championship.
No, I don't think so at all. And I think it's a valid point to say that this is bigger than, because I think now obviously TCU isn't what they were before, and they're no longer with Gary Patterson. So Mike Gundy is like the longest reigning Big 12 coach right now. And I think a lot of people expect them to kind of be the leader of the new Big 12 moving forward as far as football is concerned. And so they probably would have had an asterisk on those first couple of seasons, right? If they were so dominant and were winning Big 12 championships in the fashion that Oklahoma used to. So now that they get this opportunity, I think it's huge. And I would love personally to see them beat Baylor this weekend on Saturday and hold that trophy up.
And Shannon, I wonder now, and Jeremy, you can jump in on this as well because it involves Oklahoma State. With Lincoln Riley leaving, I don't know who. I mean, I've heard Gary. I saw Dylan Emery an Oklahoma guy post, give us Gary Patterson. I know Bob Stoops is coming to coach the bowl game for OU, but whoever they get, unless it's somebody spectacular, I got to believe that Oklahoma State now with Mike Gundy, certainly in that state and in this region, might have a huge recruiting edge for a few seasons that Oklahoma used to have. Let's start. And Shannon, I know we got to get out by 6:25 here, so I want to make sure Jeff TRAYLOR is not held up. But how much damage do you think, Shannon, this does to Oklahoma moving forward if Lincoln Riley's not there, and if they don't get a coaching, a new coach that just blows people away?
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't thought about it too much, but I did see this morning a headline: a 5-star commit previously to Oklahoma has already decommitted at the quarterback position immediately once that announcement was made. So I think it helps Oklahoma State in a lot of ways to go ahead and recruit and to say, look, you want to start winning some championships, some Big 12 championships. This is the school you need to come to. One, because obviously Oklahoma not in the Big 12, but we don't know what their future is going to look like, especially new head coach and going into the SEC. So it's huge for OSU, and it really all starts with them winning this weekend.
Jeremy, your thoughts? Does this recruiting-wise for the next few years, with no Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, is this going to be an opportunity for Oklahoma State to get some bigger recruits?
Well, I would hope so in regard to Oklahoma State. But before I went to bed last night, OU had already lost, to my knowledge, 2 5-star recruits. One of them is a quarterback, who's a 2023 quarterback. And they had also, one of them was a linebacker, and then they had lost 2 4-star recruits.
Goodness.
Before I went to sleep last night, 4 recruits had decommitted. And I was kind of looking into it. If you kind of followed his recent recruiting trends, Lincoln Riley has been dominating Southern California in his recruiting, especially with skill position players. He has been focusing there a lot in the past few years. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I was reading a lot of the experts and message boards last night, obviously from a USC perspective, and a lot of the recruits that were coming to Oklahoma, they are wondering, will they now come with Lincoln Riley to USC? Is a lot of the speculation. We will get into that. We will get into all of the surprises, NFL and college football from the Thanksgiving Day weekend. But coming up next, the head coach of the UTSA Roadrunners. It was a tough weekend in Denton for UTSA, but a lot of opportunity still ahead for the Roadrunners as they can win the Conference USA Championship this Friday at the Alamo Dome and then move on to a bowl game and still have an unbelievably successful and amazing season ahead of them. Jeff TRAYLOR, UTSA's head football coach, joins us next. Don't go anywhere. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Kolak making the show go. With you till 9, it's the Chris Duel Show. Beth Settle, good morning. Wow, a lot of you in here early. Let's see. Wes Perkins, good to see you. I'll say hi to everybody we see. Amber, Hector, Omegatron 66, Louisa, John, Anthony, Jorge, Tracy, Hector again, 2 Hectors. Ralph Balderas, Christopher, Beth, Sam, Brian Mendoza, big Oklahoma fan. I know Brian well. Tracy Bogert with a list of OU candidates. My goodness. You know, and one guy, and I brought up his name for USC a week ago, and when you hear his name, you might just cringe or go meh. And as I say his name, remember Pete Carroll. When USC hired Pete Carroll was floundering as an NFL coach. He had just come off a bad experience with the New York Jets. Jason Garrett could go to Oklahoma, where he not far away was the Dallas Cowboys head coach for a long time. I think Jason Garrett might be a better college coach than an NFL coach. And if you look at where Pete Carroll was floundering as an NFL coach before he went to USC, and then he went to USC and he was kind of built for college football, and he helped build that USC team that was so dominant during his run. I think Jason Garrett could do something like that. Sam, my Thanksgiving was great. It was Thanksgiving on Thursday. It was my wife's birthday yesterday, so we celebrated that. That was great. Had the Beatles all weekend long. I got the my booster shot on Friday night before the Spurs game, and it laid me out. I have a reaction to it. It laid me out all day Saturday. Didn't lay me out. I just extreme fatigue. I am now amongst the living. Very nice of you, Sam Tobias. Thank you. Taro Kotani joining us from Tokyo. Welcome, Taro. Let me see here if I have. I'm looking for a graphic for Jeff TRAYLOR that we can use here. So Jeff TRAYLOR's usually pretty good about being on time. So right around 6:34, start looking for his call. Thanks. Good morning, Lucinda Sullivan with the coffee emoji. Let's see. So I need that. I need that. I need to edit that. See which I am on ticket. Okay. So let me see this. I'm setting up a photo for the live video feed for Jeff TRAYLOR. Whoops, wrong. All right. And there it is. Woo! Jeff TRAYLOR coming up in just a moment. it was. That is Friday at 6. There he is. He's ready. Jeff TRAYLOR on time as always. Okay. You weren't talking to me, were you? Because I couldn't hear you. I saw the thumbs up. Okay, cool. Thanks. Jeff TRAYLOR is on the phone line. Here we go. Let's bring him up on this.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
Welcome back. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. UTSA head football coach Jeff TRAYLOR going to be a little busy at the regular time that we speak on Monday mornings at 8:35 with the short week as UTSA prepares for the conference championship game against Western Kentucky. That'll be Friday night, 6 p.m. at the Alamo Dome. That team's going to be practicing later this morning. So Coach TRAYLOR has been kind enough to join us a little bit early this morning. UTSA head football coach Jeff TRAYLOR. Coach, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Chris. We've been better, but we're here work, playing prepared for Western Kentucky.
And Coach, before we talk about Western Kentucky, obviously disappointing to lose up in Denton on Saturday. How much of, as I was watching and listening, certainly weather conditions were bad. I know you make no excuses, but weather conditions and turnovers, especially in that first half, seem to be a factor. From your perspective, what were some of the things that went wrong that led to that loss?
Well, what happens most of the time in all these games, we forget about the line of scrimmages. I'm not saying the coaches do. We know that's where the game's always won. But as fans and media and even myself, when I'm just a fan watching another team, you get so caught up in Takari Franklin and JT and Cephas and, Sincere McCormick and Frank Harris. You forget about the line of scrimmages. And we lost the line of scrimmages on both sides of the ball. Obviously, the turnovers compounded that problem. But at the end of the day, those players are a reflection of me. I'm their head coach. For whatever reason, I did not reach them this week, and we were not prepared to play, and that's on me.
Coach, you said in post-game that you felt like the team wasn't as juiced as they were the weeks before, saying that you thought UNT was at a 10 while UTSA was at an 8. Was there a point in the game where you realized we're just not ready for this one?
The night before at the hotel, I could tell we were tired. We were just not normal. I was hoping it was Thanksgiving layover. I didn't really know what it was. Here's something I believe strongly, and we talk about it all the time. Desperate people live differently than prosperous people. We look like prosperous people Saturday, and they look like a desperate team. And as I repeat, that's on me. I'm the head coach. For whatever reason, I did not get them to feel desperate.
I also heard you say something I've never heard before, but it stands for blaming, complaining, and defending. You said you heard none of that going on amongst your team in that locker room after that game. I'm going to start using that around just my daily life, no BCD. But what was that locker room like? Obviously a different experience than y'all have had the rest of the season this year.
Kind of like we've always been. They weren't too up and they weren't too down, either in our wins, and they weren't too down in our loss. Now it wasn't a happy locker room for sure, but we owned it. Another great thing in life, we all have to have the ability to look at ourselves with self-reflection and be totally honest, but never lose our swag. You can't lose your swag. There's a reason we got to why we got here. We have a strong belief in what we do. So we've got to be very honest, look at the video, assess, and then move forwards, or we'll let one loss turn into two. And you can't let North Texas beat us twice.
UTSA head football coach Jeff TRAYLOR with us. Coach, last summer when I got my Dave Campbell's Texas football magazine, first thing I flipped to was UTSA and their prediction for UTSA, and they predicted that you guys would go 10-2 in the regular season. I was doing cartwheels. Shannon and I talked about it immediately on the radio. As soon as we could talk to you, I brought it up to you, and you said, well, those are the guys who picked us to go last, finish last a year ago. So, you take it with a grain of salt. As it turns out, you guys went a lot better than 10-2. You go 11-1, and now you've got great opportunities ahead of you, an opportunity to win the Conference USA Championship game against Western Kentucky on Friday night, and then on to a bowl game and perhaps a bowl win. I know so many of the fans, Coach, they got caught up into the perfect season dream. And that's, certainly going into the North Texas game in the last couple of weeks, that's all the fans were talking about. From a coaching perspective, how do you refocus your team now on Western Kentucky if any of those players were buying into what we as fans were buying into, that, the focus was the perfect season? Now that after that disappointing loss, how do you regroup them for the biggest game of their lives in Western Kentucky in the Conference USA Championship game on Friday night?
It's just not who we are. I know that people get tired of me always answering the same way. We don't ever talk about winning and losing, or we don't discuss it. We want to be true to the triangle, and we were not true Saturday. The triangle did not show up. We were not at the level we usually are. And when you don't hold up to your standard in life, you're probably going to lose more than you win. But it's because you didn't stay true to who you were as a human. And whatever your core standards are in your own life, you got to live to those standards. And when we didn't live to those Saturday, North Texas did a better job than we did. So we will live true to who we are. We're going to find out who we are. Are we really about that triangle? It doesn't mean you're going to win every single time you live to your standards in life, but you have tremendously more odds when you live to your standards than when you don't live to your standards. And we have to go back to being who we are.
Coach, this will be the second matchup this year between the Roadrunners and the Hilltoppers.
Y'all topped them 52-46 earlier in the year. It was a very high-scoring game. Are there any adjustments that you can already think of that you'll need to change going into this matchup? Obviously, you probably don't want them to hang a 46 burger on you like they were able to in that first matchup.
I got bad news for you, Miss Salty. I don't know how we're going to stop these rascals. They're as good as I've ever gone against. And I'm not trying to wave the white flag because, our kids are going to go out there and we're going to find a way. But when it comes to stopping them, and then 53 on Marshall, 52 on FAU, 42 on Rice, 48 Middle Tennessee, 45 Charlotte, 34 FIU, 43 Old Dominion, 46 UTSA, 59 UT Martin. I mean, he's the number one rated quarterback in the country. I want you to think about this. He's completed his career because, they were HBU together. So he brings over his receivers and his coordinators with him. Him and Stearns, I think I read the stat the other day, have thrown 376 completions to just that one kid in their career. So the amount of space, repetition, and time on task those guys have, he gets the ball out of his hands so fast. They're really, really good. And I don't know, girl. I wish I could tell you we had this master plan. If you come after him, he gets rid of the ball. If you don't, he takes his time and finds his receivers. They can run the ball as well. They're as good as offense as I've ever gone against in my career.
So, all right. So, Coach, given that, and that he is so prolific as a quarterback and they are so prolific as an offense, this is a home game in the Alamo Dome. The beauty of, having the best record in Conference USA, even though both of you have the 7-1 record in Conference USA, you've got the head-to-head win, as Shannon mentions, 52-46 over Western Kentucky. How important is it, Coach, that the fans in the Alamo Dome get in there, make noise, be the 12th man and the 12th woman out there, and try to disrupt, especially when that offense is out on the field?
Well, some of my quarterbacks I've had through my career have all played in the pros. And they were hitting me up last night like, this guy is really good, Coach. He said, you've got to get your crowd involved. I mean, every time we can get a 5-yard penalty, every time they miscommunicate one time, it might be the one time he throws it to us because of one miscommunication. If you watch Bailey, he checks everything at the line of scrimmage. So when he sees whatever pressure you got coming, he's going to get them in the right play. Can we make them miscommunicate just one time? Is that one play going to be the difference? Because last time we beat them, I think we all remembered where that game ended, on our 1-yard line. We picked them off on our 1-yard line. So we were literally 1 yard away from winning or losing. UAB, we were 1 inch away. Did our crowd make the difference in 1 inch? I would beg to differ, yes. That's how important our crowd is Friday.
Now, Coach, I know for a lot of fans, they feel the disappointment that it wasn't a perfect season. I don't know that a lot of them understand just how hard and rare that is to even have a perfect season. I mean, look, they may be experiencing some whiplash as they, were undefeated throughout the year and then ultimately ended up losing that UNT game. But listen, I'm a Texas fan, so I get it. The whiplash is real. But to them, I'd say hold on, because look at how great this season was and can continue to be, starting with this game on Friday. What's the message that you have to your fans? Because you've obviously gained so many this season, and we want them to stick with y'all throughout the rest of this year and then following into next season.
Yeah, I'd say we're sorry. I mean, obviously, we don't want to let anybody down. There's nobody in that locker room that hurts more than those players do. And that's all I can do, is tell you I'm sorry. And I'm glad we've already raised the standards here that quickly, that in 2 years we got fans ticked off because we're not undefeated. I'd say we've come a long way pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And Coach, while you are, as always, quite humble, obviously and clearly from our perspective, with the greatest season in program history, you certainly have nothing to apologize about. I want to ask you, though, Coach, we noticed last week, and I know April Ansira personally, and she's absolutely wonderful. But she kind of took it upon herself to, she started off, I think, with $5,000. She, as we found out, and a lot of us didn't know, that in a conference championship game, students don't get free tickets. There's not an allotment for students to get free tickets. Students have to pay for tickets, and students have expenses like books and tuition, and often don't have discretionary income to go buy extra tickets to events that they weren't sure were coming. So April Ansira and this was before Thanksgiving, so the number's probably even bigger. She got together with the corporate community like HEB and so many others. At last count, they had raised $85,198 to support UTSA students to get them tickets to go to this Conference USA Championship game at the Alamo Dome on Friday night. Coach, how important is it that the corporate community has come together like this to support UTSA in this game?
Well, it's one of the largest reasons, I decided to sign a 10-year contract. We really want to build this thing correctly. The way I see the world, the way we view the world as a coaching staff aligns with the way the city of San Antonio is. It's just such a humble city. It's the 7th largest city in the country, but it just has such a small town feel. Obviously, I've taken my fair shot of criticism this last couple of days, but from the people that have invested in us, nothing but commitment, reaffirmment of how much they believe in us, the way our kids lost the game. There's something to be said about the character of our players. It's hard. Those kids wanted to go 12-0, and they stayed out there for the band when the band played. How great was our band to come down to Denton? Very disappointed. We're very sorry we didn't come through for that band, but then the way those guys were there in the rain and our players were out there singing the school song, there's just a right way to do it. And our city appreciates that, and we appreciate them so much. And what April did, it makes our players, they understand that people are trying to help them, and it makes them want to play harder. And as I repeat, it might not have shown Saturday, but our kids were playing. We just got our teeth kicked in, which is on me.
And again, to underscore, if you can hear our voices right now, get to the Alamo Dome Friday night, 6:00 kickoff. You can make a difference by making noise when that Western Kentucky offense is trying to operate, especially out there. And, by the way, the Jeff TRAYLOR show, if you want to go hang out with Coach and Andy Everett, 7:00 Wednesday night at the Sandbox near UTSA. If you can't be there, and even if you can still listen on the radio. We'll have it for you on Ticket 760 in San Antonio at 7:00. Austin people, you can listen in on the iHeart Radio app. Just search Ticket 760, 7:00 Wednesday night for the Jeff TRAYLOR show. Again, kickoff 6:00 Friday night, Alamo Dome, and that means pregame with Andy Everett and company on the radio, 4:00 on Ticket 760. Coach, 11-1 season. When I was doing cartwheels when Dave Campbell said you go 10-2 is a pretty spectacular season. I know you're disappointed by not going 12-0, but bigger and better things are coming, and hopefully they begin on Friday night with the Conference USA Championship game. Coach, we really do appreciate. We know how busy you are, and to jump in here early on a big practice day, it means a lot to us, Coach. Thank you so much. Have a great practice. Have a great week. Best of luck on Friday night.
I do want to add one thing. We've got a really good quarterback, too. I really bragged on Bailey Zappi. But the last I checked, our quarterback threw 6 touchdowns the last time we played against him. So I want to brag on Bailey, but I also want to brag on Frank Harris as well. See y'all Friday night. God bless. Birds up.
Amen. Thank you, Coach. God bless and birds up. Frank Harris, absolutely. Great point. And Shannon, between now and Friday, I can't emphasize enough, and I know you know as well, and I mean, you're at so many of those games as a Longhorn at DKR. You know how the fans can be loud and disrupt an opposing offense, especially. I mean, you can wreak havoc on the defense as well, but you can really a high-scoring, prolific offense like Western Kentucky has, as Coach TRAYLOR just told us. One moment, one play that you kind of get, you make so much noise, you cause a disruption, and they throw a pick or they make a mistake. That could be, in a game that was 52-46 last time, could mean the game. And that's how important fans are, and that's how important a home field is. And they have earned home field in this Conference USA Championship game. And we want to see the fans represent and make a difference on Friday night.
Cheerleaders trying to get people involved. They're doing it for a reason. It all goes back to helping the guys out on the field. So if you're able to go to the game, if you can get a ticket, because I know they're probably really hard to find with all those student tickets that are being purchased by those corporate sponsors, which is amazing. Please go. Please, I would love to go. I haven't gotten to go yet.
Hey,
can we get a corporate sponsor?
We got 5 days to figure it out. Yeah, we'll get April Ansira on the show later in the week. Like April, you got all these students into the Alamo Dome. Can you get Shannon in the Alamo Dome on Friday night? Yeah.
There you go.
But this is it. This is the biggest game, and I know we said this earlier in the season, but it wasn't a championship game. This is the Conference USA Championship. It is and it's so amazing, Shannon. And here he was more than once in that interview. He apologized. You just went 11-1. This is the greatest season that UTSA could have imagined before the season began. And you went 11-1. You got the Conference USA Championship game at home. You're going to a bowl game. I love that he's so humble, but I'm amazed that, certainly this team has nothing to apologize for.
I think it goes back to, fans get so involved and they're passionate, and it's part of why we love college football, but they take losses really, really hard. But no one takes those losses as hard as those that are on the field, either coaching or playing. But they also at the same time understand that fans do feel a certain pain themselves, and Coach TRAYLOR clearly a man of the people. And so he gets it. And we will continue to support him and this team.
Coming up, the high five play of the day. We normally do that in this half hour, but things got a little juggled. Coach TRAYLOR kind enough to join us there for the interview, which normally happens at 8:35. So as soon as we reconvene just after the top of the hour and a sports update, we'll bring you the high five play of the day, and then we're going to react to all the shocking developments in college and pro football over the Thanksgiving Day weekend. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is Jeremy Kolak, who is very excited about Oklahoma State. With you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! I need more ice for my Pure Leaf tea. Woo! Thank you, John. If I'm pronouncing your name right, John Barbiton. Thank you, John, for the nice comment.
Whether you're spending on the essentials like groceries or splurging on dinner from your favorite local restaurant, do so with your Discover credit card. Because only Discover automatically matches all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year. When it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more. Learn more at discover.com/manage. Conditions apply. 2020. Listen.
Hijack your sleep at the Epic Spring Cyber Week sale and wake up a better you. Shop in-store or online and save up to $500.
All right, I need more ice for my iced tea. Mike Taylor will be kind enough to sit in for 90 seconds while I get my tea. I think I saw a video on Twitter this morning that Sam Freese, the biggest Puma, is with Mike in Hawaii, which is very cool for him. Yeah, Sam Tobias says, I love that Coach TRAYLOR is humble in victory and humble in defeat. That's my kind of coach, not making excuses, telling it like it is. Yeah, he is the real deal, man. As Shannon just said, he gets it. Because the point is, he could have come in here and said, we make no excuses. We make no apologies. We went 11-1. We played our hearts out. But he understands how disappointed some fans are. So, yeah, I'm he never ceases to amaze me. I'll be back in a second.
said about getting LASIK at LASIK Plus that it was the best decision he's ever made.
Oh, yeah.
And Tara, she said from the moment she arrived for her consultation, she got the red carpet treatment. And Kevin, he said that the ride home lasted longer than the actual procedure. And Kendra said,
Oh, we know any Kendra's.
I'm reading reviews online. LASIK Plus has thousands of 5-star reviews.
Thousands?
Okay, where was I? Oh, so Kendra said,
LASIK Plus has received more 5-star reviews online nationally than anyone else.
Woo!
If you're ready for a life of new vision,
Thank you, Mike.
Right now at LASIK Plus, we're offering 20% off LASIK with our latest Wavelight laser when treated in December. Visit mylasicoffer.com. LASIK Plus, the patient's choice for LASIK. Must mention this promotion to be treated in December of 2021 to qualify. 20% off standard price of Wavelight procedure. Cannot be combined.
So just checking. You heard that we're going to do high five play of the day. Okay, cool. So that music bed's coming. Got to plug in my phone. Yeah, LeBron's been getting fined lately. All right. Eric Taylor says LeBron is drinking the haterade lately. Yeah, and I think LeBron, where's LeBron, 36 now? I think LeBron, and he's had a few injury issues lately. And I think for the first time, LeBron is feeling like he's not able to do everything. Let me Google LeBron, see how old he is. He may be 37. He is 36. He will turn 37 December 30th if you would like to send him a gift. He was born December 30th, 1984 in Akron, Ohio. So he will turn 37 in December. But yeah, I think, and the game is now so much about up tempo, running and gunning, jacking up threes, and I just think, plus you look at the standings, and the Lakers were right around 500. Let me pull that up. Speaking of basketball, Spurs won on Friday night. They're going for 2 in a row tonight, which would be nice. Would be the first time this year they had won 2 in a row. If they do, Lakers are 11-11. They're 4-6 in their last 10, and they're currently in the 6th slot. Man, Golden State 18-2, but the hottest team in the NBA, the Phoenix Suns, have won 16 in a row. Suns are 17-3, 1 game behind the Warriors. My goodness. Don Holding, Haas Holding is in here. Haas, congratulations. And let me see if I can pull up your... I looked at some of your videos, Haas, on Instagram and Facebook over the weekend. And Haas, won a huge championship belt. Let me see here. And Don, you can just go ahead and type it in. The Dog Pound Championship. Why is it doing that? Okay, I see. But anyway, they something like 25 wrestlers, and obviously Haas was the in fact, I'm gonna see if I can get a link to that video. If you get a chance to watch this video. And we've had Haas on the show. The Dog Pound Championship, a gauntlet match. I'm going to paste the, there's a link to the video. But I saw you describe that you were the first one out and you had to take on all these guys, every one of them younger than you are. And for those who might not know Don's story, and as a wrestler, he's Haas Holding. He was out of shape. He was in his late 50s and decided he always wanted to be a wrestler, a professional wrestler. So he went for it. And we had him on the show a couple of times, and we'll have him again. And one of the reasons is I just love the story of somebody, anybody who takes charge of their life and pursues their dream. And one of the things that Haas has shown everybody is you are never too old to pursue your dream. I mean, he's almost always, if not always, he just wrote, this big cowboy cried when I won. I'll put that up on the screen. This big cowboy cried when I won. True heartfelt emotion. And he's got this big championship belt. If you get a chance, look at that video and you can hear him describe it in his own words. It's worth a watch. Here we come. So Haas Holding, congratulations. Now he's got to defend it. I thought you already know the date of you're going to have to defend this title and this belt.
Now, Chris Duel.
What a weekend. What a shocker of a weekend in sports. On so many levels. It began on Thanksgiving Day with the Dallas Cowboys losing to the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot of us didn't see that coming. It would continue on football Saturday through the weekend. You had UTSA losing at North Texas. We just spoke with UTSA head football coach Jeff TRAYLOR. A big thanks to him for joining us. He's headed to football practice this morning and took the time to do the interview that he normally does with us anyway. He normally does it at 8:30. They'll be on the practice field at 8:30. As Shannon mentioned, because they play Friday night in the Conference USA Championship game, their week is condensed, and they got to get on the practice field this morning. So you had the UTSA loss to North Texas. You had Oklahoma State winning Bedlam over Oklahoma. Jeremy Kolak, our soundscape stylist, if you're on the live video feed, proudly wearing his Oklahoma State hoodie. You had Michigan beating Ohio State. I watched that game. I'm happy for Jim Harbaugh. He won that one. There were other shockers along the way, and of course the biggest shocker, Shannon, was Lincoln Riley yesterday going to USC. And Shannon, in less than an hour, we're going to have DILLON EMERY the blue collar sports dad, who's a huge Oklahoma Sooner partisan, on the show to react to that. And early in the day, I saw the rumblings. There was an analyst who tweeted, and I sent it to Dillon. He said, an analyst said, I expect USC to make a big run at Lincoln Riley to be their next coach. And it was still speculation early in the day. And I sent that to Dillon via text, and I said, I think Lincoln Riley would be stupid to leave Oklahoma for the same reason Nick Saban would be stupid to leave Alabama. You are at a program, you are the king and the god of, in Lincoln's case, it was Norman, Oklahoma. In Nick Satan's place, it's Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You're in. You've got a great program. You've got a winning program. You figured it out. You get great recruits every year. You dominate. You're always knocking on the door of the college football playoff. In Lincoln Riley's case, you got potential Heisman Trophy quarterbacks wanting to beat down the doors to come play for you because you've turned into a quarterback whisperer. For him to give all that up to go to another program, even though USC has a great reputation, and I think you could argue they're an iconic program, to rebuild that all over again and try to replicate that success, it doesn't always happen. I said he'd be foolish to leave. I didn't expect him to leave. And heck if he didn't do it hours later. So, Shannon, your thoughts, I haven't gotten your actual, and we'll then dive into the high five play of the day, but your thoughts on the Lincoln Riley move. Why do you think he did it? And what does it mean for the Texas Longhorns to not have Lincoln, across the Red River as a rival from now on?
Why do I think he did it? I think for me, it boils down to, do I want to live in Norman, Oklahoma, or in the middle of Hollywood and live that Hollywood kind of lifestyle when you are the head football coach of USC and a winning head football coach of USC? Now you're totally right. I mean, winning at one place does not automatically transfer to winning somewhere else. As far as the kind of pressure, I would maybe think it's a little bit more pressure at USC. Oklahoma obviously cares very much about their football program. There's a lot of external noise to come in to listen to that kind of shifts ideas some way. Some people are saying, Lincoln never really wanted to go to the SEC. A lot of people are now going to look at this move as him jumping ship and basically sticking within a Big 12-like conference. One that if he is able to pull this USC team together even a little bit, will have a decent shot at winning conference championships year after year after year. And he's a great recruiter. So I don't know that I'll have a hard time getting players, but it is just so weird. And following Oklahoma's loss to Oklahoma State on Saturday night, there was a question about LSU, and he said, no, I'm not going to LSU. Well, yes, correct.
He wasn't lying.
But we get the news yesterday that he is in fact going to USC. I've been checking his Twitter pretty randomly I'm waiting for that Twitter bio header picture change and the profile picture change and like a notes app. Thank you to Oklahoma and Norman. Haven't gotten it yet, but late last night we did get USC with the official announcement from their Twitter feed that he was heading out west. As a Longhorn fan, I don't know how I feel. Because it's like I think when Bob Stoops left, it was like, yes, okay, someone new. Like my Wi-Fi network when I was in college was Bob Stoops Too Low. That was the name of my Wi-Fi network when Bob Stoops was still coaching at Oklahoma. Obviously had to change it with Lincoln Riley coming in. So, but he did what he did, and it was still hard to swallow. And Texas doing what it's been doing the last few years, and Bob Stoops coming in to coach this bowl game is quite interesting. You wonder if maybe he'll come back officially, right? Because he left with health reasons, and then he was coaching one of those. Was it the XFL? He coached for however long that lasted. Now he's on the Fox panel. We obviously saw Urban Meyer on the Fox panel. Now he's back in coaching. I don't know. If it's Bob Stoops coming back, I don't feel great. I feel like we're in the same boat that we've been in the entire time. It'll be interesting to see who they get. I mean, in conversations during the season of all of these coaching changes, I didn't think that Oklahoma would be a school looking for a new coach.
And Jeremy, I saw you leaning in on the mic. You got something on this?
Yeah, I got 3 little quick things. The first thing is that Oklahoma has not had to do a college. Well, Oklahoma has not lost a head coach to another job since 1973, and that's when they lost their coach to the NFL. But they
Chuck
haven't
Fairbanks, I
right.
believe. Yeah.
But they haven't lost their coach to another college job since 1947.
Wow.
So this is kind of unprecedented for them. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up is I have footage like 10 minutes ago of Lincoln Riley and the assistants that are coming with him arriving on the tarmac of the Oklahoma City airport.
My goodness.
And
I hope they had security.
Yeah, they're all in their blacked out Escalades and whatnot. And then the last thing I wanted to say that I'd noticed this morning is that there was a programming note on Friday that someone, like one of the Fox Sports programming Twitter accounts, tweeted that Bob Stoops would be stepping down from his Fox Sports studio job for personal reasons. That was tweeted out on Friday, which was obviously before Bedlam or any of this went down. So
Interesting.
this is something I wanted to throw in that I noticed.
My goodness. Very, very interesting. Well, before we get to the high five play of the day, Shannon, the shocking developments throughout the Thanksgiving weekend of football, college, and pro led us to today's poll question. I don't know if you have that in front of you or not at this point.
Let me grab it for you. Yes, I do, sir. We're asking what was the biggest sports shocker of the Thanksgiving weekend? Not too surprisingly, the Lincoln Riley going to USC, leading the way, 68%. North Texas beating UTSA, coming in second, 20% of the vote this morning. 6% of the vote going to the Raiders' defeat of the Cowboys, and just 4% going to that Michigan finally beating Ohio State at the Big House. Harbaugh finally gets his win, and it may even see him in the top 4 tonight when those new college playoff rankings come out.
Yeah, and obviously the Oklahoma State beating Oklahoma was, if we had 5 choices, would have been one of them. We kind of rolled that into the Lincoln Riley headline as well. All right, so there's your poll question. You can vote on that. We normally do this about a half an hour earlier, but UTSA head football coach Jeff TRAYLOR was kind enough to join us before practice earlier in the 6 o'clock hour about 30 minutes ago. So we'll do it right now. It is our high five play of the day, which is appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. They got everything you're looking for. Big screen TVs, so you can watch sports till your heart's to your heart's desire. You've got great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials, great games you can play, from bowling to laser tag to axe throwing and so much more. 2 locations, High Five in Austin. Shannon, who is deserving of a high five this morning?
I mean, if it isn't obvious, because sometimes we do like to go with the obvious. Sometimes we dig in and we find really, really niche stories that we want to bring to light. But we've got to do this on a Monday following the regular season's end for UTSA. We've got to give a high five to Coach TRAYLOR and that entire UTSA football program, going 11-1 this season, a historic season, the 10th season of the program's history. I know everyone wanted that undefeated season, but I think you got to be in last week, Thanksgiving, you got to be grateful for what you have. 11-1 is nothing to scoff at. There are so many programs around the country that would love to sniff out just even 6 wins to get to a bowl game, Texas. Mm-hmm. Or, back in the day when Texas was constantly getting 10 wins and that didn't feel like enough. I mean, that kind of program would kill to have that many wins. So the success, I think, will continue for UTSA. I think eventually that perfect season could very well come. I mean, to do what they did just this year, as you said, they were predicted by Dan Campbell to go 10-2. So that was exciting. They ultimately achieved that, got over it, even with that 11-1. It was just a fantastic season, and it's not over yet, which is the best part. There is this game on Friday for the CUSA Championship. It is at home. It's at the Alamo Dome. It's a night game. It's against a team that was, a bit of a shootout in their previous match in October. That what did we say, 52-46 when UTSA won that one. And then they've got a bowl game, and that's still to be determined. And hopefully everyone who's coming out to San Antonio and the Alamo Dome on Friday is willing to travel with this team and take the 2-1-0 triangle of toughness to wherever that bowl game lands them.
And I hope, I know UTSA fans and sports fans around San Antonio and South Texas got so caught up in the undefeated season and the opportunity to have a perfect season. Do not let your foot off the accelerator here. There is a great opportunity at the Alamo Dome, a game that San Antonio has not seen ever before, an opportunity for the local team, UTSA, to win the Conference USA Championship. Yeah, we've had Alamo Bowl games before, and they've been great, and the Longhorns have been here, and other great teams have been here, and some of them have been incredible last-second victories and shootouts, but this is the local team, and if you heard Jeff TRAYLOR with us earlier this morning, or if you've ever heard Jeff TRAYLOR, he is such a great coach and a great man, and this is such a great program. This is the time to support a great team, a great program, a great university, and great people Friday night at the Alamo Dome. So get out there if you can, and as we discussed with Coach, be loud, because that Western Kentucky offense is like a pinball machine. They put up a lot of points, and home field means something, and you earn it for a reason. And now let's make some noise. 6 o'clock kickoff Friday night. But Shannon, I absolutely, I'm with you on this. Absolutely. Congratulations. High five to UTSA. I was doing cartwheels when Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine said they go 10-2. I thought, and I to be honest, Shannon, I thought, no way. I mean, I wasn't going to say that. I thought, if they go 8-4, that would be a big improvement from the previous season. If they go 9-3, oh my God, that'd be a great season. I didn't really think they could achieve a 10-2 season. And here they go, 11-1, and they were playing for a perfect season on Saturday at North Texas. It's been an amazing season. And you think of the great, and I know it's NFL versus college, but think of the great Tom Landry Cowboys teams. Think of the great Jimmy Johnson Cowboys team. None of those teams went undefeated. I mean, there were great Super Bowl champions among them. And only once in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins in 1972 went wire-to-wire undefeated. We know the New England Patriots went 16-0 a number of years ago and then lost in the Super Bowl to the New York Giants. So it almost never happens. But let's appreciate what's happening here and a chance for a Conference USA championship.
Yeah, and there were rumblings in the middle of the season amongst them going week in and week out trying to remain undefeated of, are you going to get to keep your coach? And with the way the season was going, are you even going to get to keep your coach for the remainder of the season if he does decide to go elsewhere and he signs that 10-year contract extension? I think UTSA fans should feel ecstatic about that, especially considering, the big story today, Lincoln Riley going to USC, leaving behind what seems like a pretty cushy and sweet gig that he had in Norman, Oklahoma. So a lot to look forward to and be grateful for right now as UTSA fans. Now, Chris, you've gotten Jeremy and I's take on this. And as Jeremy said, there is video of Lincoln Riley arriving at the airport in OKC to depart for LA. He brings with him defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, outside wide receivers coach Dennis Simmons, director of ops Clark Stroud, and strength coach Benny Wiley. So you're getting not just Lincoln Riley, but most of his core staff from Oklahoma heading to USC. You are a USC alum. You, like Texas fans, have experienced a bit of whiplash throughout the last, 10 years or so. Your thoughts on Lincoln Riley becoming your man, especially as a guy who, you're not a huge Oklahoma fan. And now all of a sudden you got to go from heck no Lincoln Riley to he's the best guy of all time. He's my head coach.
You know what? If you would have said to me, Shannon, yesterday or last week, you can pick any football coach out there to be the USC coach. Somebody who's already in a contract with a college or pro to be the next USC coach. My number one choice would be Nick Saban, even though he's 70 years old. It would be next to impossible to get him. But my number two pick would probably be Lincoln Riley, given he's 38. He's very young. If he came and chose to stay a while, he could build a dynasty. You talked about it, especially in the Pac-12, where it's ripe for the picking if you could return USC to the Pete Carroll days. He's proved to be a great recruiter. See, that's why I wouldn't want an NFL coach, because none of them are really proven to be college football recruiters. Lincoln Riley has proven he's a great recruiter. He's proven he's a quarterback whisperer, which USC used to do that. Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, they were a quarterback factory at one time. They're not anymore. They can be again now with Lincoln Riley. And he built a team and a program that was always in the mix and on the cusp of the college football playoff. And, we're about to expand the college football playoff. So presumably Lincoln Riley can do that. We'll have more opportunities. There'll be more slots for USC to get in the college football playoff. So I'm absolutely ecstatic. Did I like him at Oklahoma? No. Do I like Nick Saban at Alabama? No. I'm sick of Alabama winning all the time. I'm sick of Oklahoma winning as much as they win, especially because I'm a big Texas fan. So, I don't like Lincoln Riley when he's at Oklahoma, but you come on. It was like, I remember Deion Sanders, Shannon. I hated Deion Sanders when he was a San Francisco 49er. Even when he was an Atlanta Falcon originally, I remember he once intercepted a pass against the Cowboys, and he takes it to the house, pick six, and he does his little dance in the end zone, and I hated him. Then he goes to 49ers. I hated his guts, especially in that NFC Championship game where the 49ers stopped the Cowboys from going to 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Then Deion Sanders comes to the Cowboys, and it's like, oh my God, we got prime time. Yeah, it is amazing when someone who is your nemesis, who you don't like when he's with another team, comes to your team, and you can flip pretty quickly. And that's, I think, where I am at Lincoln Riley. And I do. This is really the first time in my lifetime, Shannon, that USC has gone big for a head coach. Pete Carroll, they did not go big. They got lucky on Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was floundering and had a bad year as coach of the New York Jets. When they hired Pete Carroll, I and a lot of USC alums said, Pete Carroll? Really? Why? And then, we found out why. He lived up to it, and he did it. So the subsequent hires, Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian were on the Pete Carroll staff. It was a nice hire. They knew the culture, but it wasn't go big like this. Certainly Clay Helton was not that hire. This is a big hire. And somebody brought up yesterday, it's very rare. Jimbo Fisher made a lateral move from a big-time Power 5 winning program to another one. For Lincoln Riley to do what he did, Jeremy mentioned how rare it is for Oklahoma to lose a coach like this. In college football at all, for this to happen, it's a rare event. It's very unusual. But yeah, I'm doing cartwheels, just like when I saw UTSA would go 10-2 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Yesterday, I was, and I am clearly still on cloud 9.
When the Cowboys were looking for a new head coach, Lincoln's name was tossed around a bit, and I didn't hate that. I would have been okay with that, and I'd still, if Mike McCarthy doesn't make it, I'd also be okay with that. But then you're of course going to be in a tight spot there, depending on how USC is doing with him. You mentioned that lateral move. I wonder. I know the way Oklahoma fans behave towards Texas fans on OU weekend. I can't imagine what they're feeling towards Lincoln Riley. It's probably a lot of hate right now.
Yes. Well, we're going to have a window into that, Shannon, in about a half an hour, top of the hour. DILLON Emery, the blue collar sports dad. I was looking at his Twitter account yesterday, and I can't say on the radio some of the things DILLON was saying about Lincoln Riley. He is our 2 resident hardcore Oklahoma alums and partisans are Andy Everett and DILLON Emery. And Andy is often cool, calm, and collected, and that's who he is, and we love him. DILLON Emery, and I love this about DILLON, he wears his heart on his sleeve in a big way, and that's good. DILLON actually asked to come on. We wanted him anyway, but he asked to come on. He wants to air his grievances about what Lincoln Riley has done. So that's going to be just after 8 o'clock at 8:05. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. We've got this day in sports history and sports birthdays. As we mentioned, DILLON EMERY just after 8 o'clock to react to Lincoln Riley bolting and apparently, according to Jeremy, with video footage now, they're on the plane headed west now to Southern California for that press conference today at USC. So much to react to. NFL football, college football. Oh, by the way, the Spurs can win 2 in a row tonight. They beat the Boston Celtics on Friday night. They got a couple of days off over the weekend. They host the Washington Wizards tonight. Could be the first time this year the Spurs win 2 in a row. That would be beautiful. Lots to talk about. We're with you till 9. Your phone calls along the way at 800. I got the number right. 800-707-9760. 800-707-9760. Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays next. It's the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, there are people. James Rippey, I see what you're saying there. And we'll put that up there. I saw somebody reporting yesterday, like a reporter, a legitimate college football reporter, who said Lincoln Riley did not want Oklahoma to go to the SEC. That competing with Alabama and Georgia and LSU and everybody in the SEC to go to the playoff, even though it will be expanded and there'll be a number of SEC teams in it, even though there already are with 4, that played into his decision-making. Hey, Jeremy, I didn't see Wes there. Can you tell him, because, we're either call back at we might be able to fit him in before the top of the hour, but we need to do sports history, Salty Shakedown here. If he wants to try calling back at about 47, do that. If not, call at 8:35 and we could definitely get him in. So we could definitely get him in at 8:35. We might be able to get him in at 7:50. And I tell him I apologize. I didn't see him there. I didn't look over at the phone. Wes, I don't know if you hear me. 8:35, we can definitely get him in. Yeah, but if the Salty Shakedown goes long, we might not get him in, but we could definitely do it at 8:35. Oh, okay. I didn't know. Okay, yeah, I would have. He's a great caller. I'd hate to miss him. Wes, Jeremy's going to pick it up if you're listening right now. Sergio Lozano said Lincoln saw the writing on the wall. Possible. James Rippey says, I predict, just like Texas A&M has done after they joined the SEC, Oklahoma will not win a conference title game in the first 10 years. Now with Lincoln Riley leaving, even if they get Bob Stoops, I just, and maybe I'm wrong, But I don't think Bob Stoops even brings, and he did a lot of great things at Oklahoma. And we'll ask Dylan Emery about this. I don't think Bob Stoops brings the gravitas anymore or the allure that Lincoln Riley had at Oklahoma with all those Heisman Trophy winners and candidates and, just not either getting into the college football playoff or knocking on the door of the college football playoff. Oklahoma needs, and maybe they can, they need to do what USC just did, and that's go big, and I don't know who that is. Now, if they were smart, they'd throw all the money at Jeff TRAYLOR and figure out what his buyout is. I'm sure there's a buyout. I know he signed the 10-year deal at UTSA, but I think Jeff TRAYLOR, and I'm thankful he's staying in San Antonio with UTSA, and I trust that will continue to be the case. But if I were Oklahoma and I were aware of him, he's already a great recruiter. He was on the staff at Texas. Somebody brought up UIW, and absolutely, they won in overtime over Stephen F. Austin on Saturday, 35-28. So they advance in the SCS playoffs. So, they are an amazing story. So they're 10-2 now. So UTSA and UIW are a combined 21-3. So college football going very, very well in San Antonio right now. Oh, I need to find something here. Here we come. Wes, we're sorry we didn't get your phone call in here, man. We love your calls. Here we come. Wes, either there might be a shot at the end of this segment. If not, I would think certainly 8:35.
Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter @Chris Duel and @Shannon B. Sweeney.
And welcome in on a Monday as we react to all of the shocking events in college and pro football over the weekend. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolak is running the show, making the show go. Coming up just after the top of the hour, he is the most hardcore Oklahoma Sooner partisan I know. And you may know him as well. Also, we've had him on the show many times. He has his own show, the Blue Collar Sports Dad Show on Ticket 760 in San Antonio on Sundays. That is DILLON EMERY, the Blue Collar Sports Dad. He's got an opinion or two on Lincoln Riley leaving the Oklahoma Sooners to go coach at USC. So we will dive into that with DILLON just after 8 o'clock. In a moment, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. Before that, we got some sports birthdays for you. And this day in sports history, November 29th, 1890. That's how far back we're going. 1890. Navy defeats Army 24-0 in the first ever Army-Navy game. It was the first matchup of the historic series. Navy took the first one. It is an absolute classic. That is tremendous football whenever you can catch. I had the privilege a number of times of going to an Army-Navy game live, and it is very, very, very cool. On this day in 1960, Joe Bellino won the Heisman Trophy for Navy. He was a Navy halfback in 1960. That was the 26th Heisman Trophy Award. And just 3 years later, another cadet from the Naval Academy would win it in 1963. That would be Roger Staubach. My goodness, Navy in the early 1960s had a heck of a football team and some amazing players and 2 Heisman Trophy winners in 4 years. Unbelievable. And finally, on this day in 1987, Joe Montana of the San Francisco 49ers set the NFL record for most consecutive pass completions at 22. Montana completed 22 passes in a row. That record would be broken in 2015. Shannon, I would not be able to answer this, but I'll throw it out to you. Who do you think? There are now 2 players who have the record of 25 consecutive pass completions. One player did it in 2015. Another one tied it in 2018. Any guesses what quarterbacks have the most pass completions consecutively in NFL history?
Oh man, was it Dak? 2018?
Not Dak. I would in 2015. This I would have never got. Ryan Tannehill played for the Dolphins. Ironically, they were playing the Tennessee Titans, who is now his team, and Ryan Tannehill completed 25 passes in a row to break the record. 3 years later, in 2018, Phillip Rivers completed 25 straight passes in a 45-0 rout of the Arizona Cardinals. Rivers, I could see. Tannehill, completing 25 in a row, not so much. And Dak, I could see. I think Dak would be a great, or Brady, somebody, Brady or Breeze, somebody that efficient. But obviously Montana was very Brady-esque back in his day. So there you have it. That's sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1927, maybe the greatest play-by-play guy ever, Vin Scully, longtime LA Dodgers voice, retired recently. Vin Scully was born in 1927 in the Bronx in New York. Someday, Shannon, we'll have to open up a discussion who is or was the greatest sports play-by-play guy or gal ever. Vin Scully would be hard to beat, I will tell you that. Although Bill Schoening, we like our dudes. Bill Schoening is certainly up there. Born on this day in 1969, Panamanian American pitcher Mariano Rivera did most of his damage with the New York Yankees, was born in Panama City, Panama. And finally, born on this day in 1988, a guy who could get the most consecutive completions in the NFL, Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson was born on this day in 1988. Happy birthday, Russell Wilson. Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler a bunch of times. Russell Wilson was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I did not know that. There's your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Manic Monday Salty Shakedown.
Chris, I am very much enjoying the Twitterverse this morning. I just received a tag on Twitter, and someone on the OU campus has a giant banner across the school now that says "Traitor," in reference to Lincoln Riley leaving for USC this morning. All right, so Shakedown. The Houston Texans, they were a pick of mine over the weekend. I'm like, they're playing the Jets. They're both 2-8 at the time. How could they not win this one? It's the Jets. Come on. They are seemingly the bottom of the league. Always a safe bet. I feel like to pick against them. I was wrong. I'm okay to admit that. But I want to talk to you about a play that occurred during the game. It was 3rd and 17 late in the first quarter when Jets quarterback Zach Wilson, young guy still trying to find his feet in the NFL, he sprinted up the middle and then chucked a shovel pass to the back of one of his players, Ty Johnson. So it then bounced off Johnson's back as he wasn't looking. He was actually going upfield to block for the scrambling quarterback. And after it bounced off Johnson's back, it landed into the hands of Houston Texans, Tevier Thomas. Texans have been doing great as far as takeaways. They did not ultimately win the game. The Jets did 21-14. But this turnover, absolutely insane. One of the crazier ones we've ever seen. I can only compare it to butt fumble, which happened to be in a Jets uniform as well. So I wanted to ask you this, Chris, because it's bad right now for Zach Wilson. And part of it's because you're in the Jets, right? That's just the system you're in. That's something he can't necessarily control. But if you're Zach Wilson and you have a turnover such as this, that is so insanely crazy, and oh, by the way, resulted in the first touchdown of the game a couple plays later for the Texans. So again, not a great one. Do you look at this as, you know what? They can only go up from here. This interception will follow me for the rest of my career, but there will never be another one as bad as this. Or do you think this is the nail in the coffin before my career could really get underway?
I think he's going to think positively because he was very successful at BYU. Interestingly, Mark Sanchez, known for the butt fumble with the Jets, and he's still, even this year I saw he was doing a panel show in a pregame show, and somebody dogged him about, that has never left him. So it is interesting. You do make a faux pas, especially as a quarterback in the National Football League, and that can follow you forever. But it's the Jets. They're awful. It's just ask Sam Darnold, even though it didn't get better for him necessarily at Carolina. I think there will be brighter days for Zach Wilson, but gosh, it's got to be tough to, you say it, Shannon, and you're right. Cleveland is where quarterbacks go to die. That the new modern day location might be the Jets. Now that Baker Mayfield, even though they're 6-6 now, Cleveland, now that Baker Mayfield is decent, maybe the Jets will hold that title now.
Yeah. Sorry to Zach Wilson. Again, like I said, I think this is going to stick with you forever. But you ultimately did get the win over the Texans, 21-14. So now your team is a grand total of 3-8 on the season. All right, moving on. Our second story of the day, Chris. It's been a weird NBA season. LeBron James doesn't seem to be himself, and the antics just kind of keep getting weirder. We had that game where he threw an elbow at an opposing player. He gets suspended for one game for it. And then over the weekend, he was fined $15,000, Chris, for an obscene gesture during the fourth quarter with 1:17 left in a game against the Pacers. Lakers went on to win that one in overtime, 124-118. But during that end of the fourth quarter run, LeBron shoots a three. He makes it. He turns around. He grabs his man bits. Apparently, that's a no-no in the NBA because he was later fined $15,000 for it. He kind of included a dance with it, too. That same game, he had two fans removed from their seats and kicked out of the arena. And then during the post presser for that game, he dropped some words you're not supposed to say, some curse words, and so he's been warned by the NBA, hey, you can't do that or you're going to get fined for that as well. Do you have a diagnosis right now for LeBron James? Because to me, it just seems like he's a king who's lost his crown a little bit.
I talked about this to somebody during one of the breaks this morning, Shannon. I think it's for the first time ever. He's 36. He'll turn 37 next month. And next month arrives in 2 days. December 30th, he'll turn 37. I think for the first time ever, LeBron James is not the best player on the floor most nights. I think he's feeling his age. He's had injury problems. And I don't think he's handling it well. That's my diagnosis. He's used to being the king. Now some fans are mocking him. He's not playing as well as he used to. He's having a hard time keeping up with the 25-year-olds. I think he's losing it. I think he's used to having everything his way, and now all of a sudden he doesn't. And by the way, LeBron and Steph Curry used to do things like this, like the crotch grab. Steph Curry once in the finals, I think at Cleveland against LeBron, after a three-point shot, act as if he was, how can I say this nicely, relieving himself on the floor. It's just crass. It's beneath a professional player, the stature of a LeBron James or a Steph Curry. I'm very disappointed. I like LeBron a lot. I am disappointed with how he's been behaving lately.
You know, so often in his career, he's been compared to the Michaels and obviously Kobe. And now that he's in a Lakers uniform, it's even easier to make that comparison. But I think of Kobe in his last years. Obviously, the team didn't perform the way he would have liked, but he still continued to perform at a high level when he was on the court. And he had all those young guys that he took that opportunity to mentor and guys that are now flourishing in this league. LeBron inviting all his friends for what seems like one last ride, and he's behaving like he's holding a house party and his parents aren't home. I don't understand it. I think this could end up really kind of damaging the way we see LeBron as a whole, especially as we do near the end of what previously I think a lot of people would have thought to be a stand-up career, but continuing to just do these things, and he can blame the media or whoever all he wants. Some of these things are very much in his control, and he's choosing to go the opposite way. So I just thought that was interesting. Again, he was fined $15,000 for that obscene gesture, got 2 fans kicked out during a game, and then in the post presser dropped some curse words and was warned by the NBA, hey, you can't do that or we're going to fine you too. All within one game over the weekend. All right, finally, I've got some Nick Saban audio I'd like you to hear. I think given what UTSA has been through this season, going 11-1 and losing that final game, to not go undefeated, I think it's a great perspective to have. This quote actually came prior to that game, so I loved it already. Nick Saban is talking about fans and understanding that, you know, they're not owed anything like wins. These are still student athletes, and they're still playing a game, and so they need to take that into consideration, and that no one feels a loss as badly as coaches and players do. So here's some Nick Saban for you.
You know, it's I don't know. I mean, when I came here, everybody was happy to win a game. Now we're not happy to win a game anymore. We're not happy to win a game at all. We think we should win games by whatever. And I don't think that's fair to the players either. Because our players work their butt off to be the best that they can be. And to get criticized for what they work hard for to do so that you can be entertained. So that you can enjoy and have pride and passion for what they accomplish and what they do. And they're not perfect. They're just college students. They go to school every day. They got to study. They have to run extra after practice when they miss study hall. I mean, come on, give me a break. This is not professional football. These guys aren't getting paid to play here. They're representing you all. You should be proud and happy to support them and appreciate what they do and have some gratitude. And you know what else? Nobody wants to win worse than they do. Not me, not you. I don't care what kind of fan you are. Nobody wants to win more than the players that play. Nobody.
Chris, I just love it because I think it's true. And I think it's something that's not said enough. You know, I talked about Texas fans, you know, would kill to have those 10-win seasons back. And even when we were having those, it wasn't enough. They wanted to be undefeated, or they wanted a win to be a beatdown. Winning by just a couple of points wasn't enough. I think Alabama is still very much in this rut. Obviously, they've dropped a game this season. and you know they're still in the top four, so you know whatever. But I think for UTSA fans to realize just how good you have it, and to realize that this is just the beginning, right? There's so much more to come, especially with Coach TRAYLOR sticking around and that staff. So again, congratulations to UTSA. Thank you to Nick Saban for the words. I think all fans should maybe take into consideration from time to time when they are upset about a loss, when they are still upset about a win, because they maybe are a little bit greedy, given whatever their team's history is. But there it is, today's Salty Shakedown. And I think, Chris, do we have a caller on the line? That
we do. First of all, outstanding Salty Shakedown. Kudos to Nick Saban for that soundbite. I absolutely loved it, Shannon. Thanks for playing it. Yeah, let's bring Wes here. Wes tried to get in earlier. Wes wants to react to Lincoln Riley going from Oklahoma to USC. Wes, we got about 90 seconds. Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, I'll make it quick, Chris and Shannon. Hey, I think it's a smart move by Lincoln Riley. First of all, it's a Red Raider going to fix USC. Thank you very much. I'm a USC fan now. I want to tell you this. I think that, you know, Lincoln Riley saw that he would have to go to the SEC and share at the big table there rather than be the big kahuna, and didn't want to tie his name to what was going to end up being an 8-win, 9-win season every year as opposed to 10 or 11. So going to USC, having a chance to stand out, have all the recruits that he wants is probably the best thing in the world. So I know Dillon's not going to say that, but I think that's the way it needs to be looked at.
Wes, thanks for the phone call. And you mentioned Dillon Emery, Oklahoma partisan, going to join us in just a few moments, just after 8 o'clock. And Shannon, I mean, a lot of people are attributing that reasoning. He sees the writing on the wall, and he sees the difficulty that is coming with the SEC, that he can be more successful at USC. What do you think about that?
I think it's a really fair argument, and one we'll continue to hear. There was even rumblings that he didn't want to join the SEC to begin with, that it was a Bob Stoops push. And Bob Stoops obviously still carries plenty of weight with that program. He's coming back to coach him in a bowl game in just a few weeks. So I think the argument is valid. He'll probably deny it, but I'm right there with him. I think he was a little scared.
If it's true that was a Bob Stoops push, and now we know Bob Stoops will coach in the bowl game for Oklahoma, what if he winds up getting that job back? Wow. What a turn of events that could be in the life of Bob Stoops. Quick break. You don't want to miss this. Dillon Emery, the blue-collar sports dad, is hopping mad at Lincoln Riley. We'll talk to him next on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo! Oh, my goodness. Dillon Emery to join us next.
So, you know what Mike said about getting LASIK at LASIK Plus? That it was the best decision he's ever made. Oh, yeah. And Tara, she said from the moment she arrived for her consultation, she got the red carpet treatment. And Kevin, he said that the ride home lasted longer than the actual procedure. And Kendra said, we don't know any Kendras. I'm reading reviews online. LASIK Plus has thousands of 5-star reviews. Thousands? Uh-huh. Okay, where was I? Oh, so Kendra. LASIK Plus.
Yeah, Wes, we love your calls. I wish we had more time, man. Sorry, we were up against it when you called in. Yeah, Anthony Huerta, I would agree with that. Anthony says winning in the SEC has been difficult for anyone not named Saban. Very true. However, you know, they're expanding the college football playoff to either 12 or 16, and most people believe that means 3, 4, maybe even 5, but let's say 4. I think that's a good bet. SEC teams would be in the college football playoff every year, the way things are going now, the way it's such a dominant conference. So, you know, there's two ways of looking at that. If you're good, and this is what Texas hanging its hat on and hoping for with Sark. If you're good, even if you don't win the SEC, and you might. I mean, how long can Nick Saban 70? How long can Nick Saban and Alabama keep doing that? But even if you don't, if you're second or third or fourth in the SEC, you could still be in the playoff if it's a 12-team playoff or a 16-team playoff. So we shall see. Yeah, Fred, Fred, that Saban soundbite was amazing, and I agree with it. And as much as I call him Nick Satan, he's amazing. There's it was on HBO, and let me see if I can find the name of it. It's a documentary of Nick Saban and Bill Belichick just sitting down talking football. Okay, it's called The Art of Coaching. It's called Belichick and Saban, The Art of Coaching. It was on HBO. So if you've got HBO Max or HBO, you can probably go find it on demand. As much as we dog Belichick for not having a personality, and as much as, I dog Saban for I'm tired of him just winning everything and dominating I mean, their love of the game. You watch them talk football, and the reason they're so successful at what they do, they love the game. They eat, breathe, sleep, and it's no coincidence. They are good friends. It's no coincidence that Mac Jones, Alabama quarterback, is now a New England Patriot, because Nick Saban had conversations clearly with Bill Belichick and said, Nick Saban knew this guy is what you're looking for in an NFL quarterback to replace Tom Brady. So it's an interesting take from James Rippey. James Rippey writes, Oklahoma fans feel the same as Spurs fans did when number 2, Kawhi, forced his way out. Yeah, and it did. Obviously, Kawhi's leaving set the Spurs program back a number of seasons. R.C. Buford, Greg Popovich, this Spurs team had built a plan if Kawhi would not have lost his mind, and however that happened, Uncle Dennis, whatever, if Kawhi was Kawhi and stayed a Spur, this Spurs team would still be making the playoffs every year. Now you got the Kawhi of load management. Now even the Clippers, the Kawhi the Clippers have is not the same Kawhi the Spurs had when they won the title in 2014. But yeah, that's an interesting comparison, James. Wes Perkins, I just see the Pac-12 as a gold mine for a great coach. California recruiting. Riley has his roots in Texas and the Midwest. Why go to the SEC and share where you can have the whole enchilada? Yeah. A very good take. David Valles says, look at Kawhi now, damaged goods. It could be. Could be. I figured out the day I'm going to, I came up with this the other day. Obviously, I have a lot of angst with Kawhi Leonard, and I know I need to let it go. I tend to be, and I aspire to be, a positive person and a forgiving person, and to hold anger and angst and grudges and darkness in your heart is not good for you. So the day I'm going to let it go, I figured it out. February 2nd of this coming year. Why? It's 2/2/2022. It's 2/2/22. It's all twos. 2/2/22. I am letting go of number 2. I'm letting it go. Now, until then, you dirty rat, Kawhi. But yeah, 2-2-22. All will be forgiven. I'm going to let it go. Just let it out of my life. Breathe in the positivity. Breathe out the negativity. See, Bernard Trefan. What is up, Bernard? Bernard says the Spurs probably would have been better off today if they sent Kawhi to one of the LA teams, which would have yielded a better package than sending him off to Canada. Bernard, I don't think we know that. And the LA teams knew Kawhi wanted out, and they knew Kawhi wanted to go to LA. So if you're the LA Lakers or the Clippers, why are you going to send any value to San Antonio when you know he's coming? So I can't say I agree with that, Bernard. I mean, it would have been nice, and maybe you're right, but I think the Spurs surveyed the landscape, and the best that they could get was DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a draft pick, which I think turned into Keldon Johnson. Jason Paniagua writes, flush that number 2 down the toilet on 2-2-22. See, I was gonna make it positive on 2-2-22. If I have a ceremony, Jason, where I flush him down the toilet, I mean, I should maybe do that on 2-1-22, and then because I want to be positive. Bernard saying a lot of people are getting married on 2-22-22. It could be a busy day for me. I'm officiating another wedding on the solstice on December 21st. I think I'm retiring. I've had this discussion, Bernard. I think I'm retiring from officiating weddings. First of all, I've got an undefeated record. I've got I'm like what UTSA would have been. So the more marriages I perform, the more I risk my perfect record. I've done about 10. I've got to add it up. Maybe I'm at 11 now. I got to write them all down and add them up. But the national divorce rate is 50%. The divorce rate among people I have married is 0%. So this may be it. And it's on the solstice. It's on the winter solstice. Juan Hernandez, you will feel better once number 2 is out of your system. Thank you, Juan. That sounds like a gastrointestinal comment, which might be an appropriate metaphor. Very funny, Juan. All right, here comes Dean. I'm not defending Kawhi, but the Spurs coddled Aldridge when they should have been in Kawhi's corner. Yeah, there are people who believe that, and I might even believe that, Dean. And here we're coming out of the break. The Spurs, a lot of people have said, Pop, given his military background, that joining the Spurs is like going into the military, kind of. So, and not everybody's built for the military. So not everybody's built for Greg Popovich as your commanding officer necessarily. Although you'll be a better player. And I think Kawhi became a better player because he was here.
Now, Chris Duel.
What a weekend. What a Thanksgiving weekend in college and pro football. Not just surprises everywhere, shockers everywhere. Raiders over the Cowboys. Shocker. I think that qualifies as a shocker. Nobody saw that coming. Maybe some hardcore Raider fans. Nobody else saw that coming. Oklahoma State over Oklahoma. Even Jeremy Kolak, our soundscape stylist, only twice in his lifetime. And we were talking to him about Bedlam, Shannon, before the game, and he was not confident. He was like it was like he was getting ready to go watch a relative get executed in Huntsville. So
many years of pain.
Many years of pain. And he used the term he's euphoric now, but I don't think he saw this coming. Michigan over Ohio State. Nobody saw that coming. UTSA losing at North Texas. Not a lot of people saw that coming. And then The crowning shocker of the football extended Thanksgiving weekend yesterday, Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma to go to USC. And as Jeremy reported less than an hour ago, Lincoln Riley and a number of his assistants were on the tarmac in Oklahoma City, getting ready to fly to Los Angeles this morning for a press conference. The most hardcore Oklahoma Sooner partisan that we know is DILLON EMERY, the blue-collar sports dad. I would read you his tweets yesterday when he learned that Lincoln Riley was leaving his beloved Oklahoma Sooners. I would read you his tweets, but the FCC would fine us prodigiously. So we'll just bring him on the radio. Jeremy, hand on the dump button, by the way, even though the Blue Collar Sports Dad is a professional broadcaster. His show on Sundays, 10 a.m. to noon, the Blue Collar Sports Dad show with he and Terrell Huff is outstanding. Friend of the show and a friend in general, DILLON EMERY, the Blue Collar Sports Dad. You've had about 18 hours to digest this. How are you feeling this morning?
Yeah, it is what it is. No, I'm kidding. I'm still in that same mood, Chris. I gotta watch the languages and the tweets, and of course, you know who's always the best factor for you is your mama. My mom texted me last night and said, "Your language was very inappropriate, but I am mad too."
What? And
I mean, I gotta watch what I'm saying, right?
well, and Dylan, somebody brought this up to me just moments ago on the live video feed, and I didn't think about this. They were comparing it, and you're a Spurs fan like I am. They were comparing it to Kawhi Leonard ditching the Spurs. Does it feel similar to you? I mean, Lincoln Riley was the guy. I mean, I would argue a better, more dynamic coach, certainly than Bob Stoops, maybe even than Barry Switzer for the Sooners. I mean, how does this feel to you? How does this feel to Sooner fans?
You know, he was the guy. He had the keys to the car. His Porsche, it was nice. It was running in the Big 12. But also, Chris, let's be real. What has he won? He's won Big 12 titles. He's gone to playoff games, and he's lost those playoff games. He gets to semifinals, and he loses. He can't quite get to the next level. It is shocking. And it's funny that somebody does say that compared to Kawhi, because even the night before in Bedlam at the post game, they kept talking about LSU, and he said it very firmly, "I'm not going to LSU." I guess nobody thought he was going to go to USC, but, you know, to see the video, I just saw the video of them going in the night at Will Rogers Airport, you know, and they're getting out of these cars in their OU gear, and they're going into the airport. Maybe the USC gear will be in the rental cars that they get in Los Angeles, but it's like, there they go, off into the night. They don't go off during the day. It's thieves in the night. And basically the rug and the whole program in general, we're losing recruits. I mean, the bleeding has come out tremendously, and it's going to be curious. And who's going to land in that spot? I think Bob Stoops is coaching the bowl game, and that's just going to help fans in general. They're going to feel better that Bob Stoops is down there. But, you know, I'm angry. I'm upset. Why do you leave a program? Are you scared of going to the next level, which is the SEC? Is that why you're running to the Pac-12? And this kid knows how to coach. He knows quarterbacks. Los Angeles, I guess it's sexier than Norman, which anybody would tell you that, even me. But it's shocking, Chris.
Dylan, let's go there with your thoughts on why you think this was the right time for Lincoln to make this move and why he ultimately did it. A lot of people are saying he just never wanted to go to the SEC. He doesn't want to kind of flounder the way Texas A&M did when they left the Big 12 to go to the SEC, going to the Pac-12. Should he get that USC team program right, even just 10 wins should at least get them that chance to play in the championship game each year, and possibly see them in future college playoffs should that expand. And then also, obviously, not the complete season that Oklahoma was hoping to have with that loss to OSU over the weekend and the loss to Baylor just weeks before. Was this just kind of a perfect storm and a perfect opportunity that you think he couldn't pass up, or do you think it really does lean on that SEC move and seeing if he could land somewhere else?
I think it's a huge chess move on Lincoln. I think you're right. I think him and his staff didn't probably like the move or the fact that we were going to go to the SEC. And this could be one way that he says, you know what, you go to the SEC, have fun being in the middle, and struggle for a while, but that's not what I want to do. I want to continue winning championships. I still want to be in the spotlight. I want my team to be talked about because the fear is, Shannon, you know this, with Texas and OU going to the SEC, are we going to become a Missouri, a Vanderbilt, a Florida? Are we going to be talked about every now and then? Or are we going to be talked about like Georgia, Alabama, all the top schools in the SEC? Or are we just going to be in the middle? And Lincoln Riley is the young, sexy coach in college, and it's a young, sexy program now with USC. He gets to be in the limelight more. There's more press availability for him. He gets to play the likes of Notre Dame every year, and that's going to be a national game. It's going to be exciting for him. I don't like what he did. It's kind of like his brisket. It was burnt, and now he's gone.
Dillon Emery, the blue-collar sports dad and the most fervent Oklahoma Sooner partisan that we know. And Dillon, what's so weird for me personally, I saw that report early in the day yesterday, and I sent it to you. I texted it to you. It said, some guy said, I really believe that USC is going to make a major run at Lincoln Riley. And whenever I hear Lincoln Riley or Sooners news, I send it to you just to get a reaction. And I wrote to you, I said, Lincoln Riley would be stupid. I think I used the term foolish to leave Oklahoma because he is already very much like Nick Saban, in my opinion. Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Lincoln Riley in Norman, Oklahoma. Each of those men established a perennial powerhouse. They are recruiting phenoms. They are golden gods as they walk the streets of those cities. You go to USC, you got to start from scratch. There's a lot of scrutiny. There's no guarantee that you can replicate the success at USC that you had at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley, and you and I have talked about this, Dillon, as far as would Lincoln Riley jump to the Dallas Cowboys? Lincoln Riley at the age of 38 could be the Nick Saban of Norman. Nick Saban is 70 years old now. Lincoln Riley could go the next 32, 40 years as the god of Oklahoma and would have clearly, I believe, led them to multiple national championships over the next 4 decades. And for some, and I said, I totally dismissed the speculation yesterday morning that he'd even consider USC, and now here we are.
Yeah, and it is shocking. And you say Saban, and let's not forget what Saban did when he was the coach of the Miami Dolphins. Same reports were coming out of him. And he was telling everybody, he said, look, all right, I'm not going to Alabama. I'm not going to be the coach. All right, I'm not going to do it. What does he do? He ends up being the coach at Alabama. And we look at all the coaches right now, especially during going into the bowl season. Like, can we even trust Jimbo out at Texas A&M? Is he not going to want to go to LSU, or is he not going to want to go somewhere else? Are these coaches, I mean, obviously you're going to say what you need to say. They're going to pull the Kawhis, like when Kawhi said, I wanted to be a Spur for life, and he left for money, and he left for the fame. And Lincoln's the same way. And it's shocking, Chris. I mean, we were laughing. I even told you, I said, well, maybe USC should go for Bob Stoops. He seems to like the limelight a little bit more. But here we are losing recruit after recruit, and it hasn't even been 24 hours left yet in Norman. And we don't even know who the head coach is going to be.
Dillon, you mentioned those recruits that have already decommitted from Oklahoma. I have to imagine that there are going to be some current Oklahoma players that want to go to USC, especially given the new NIL deals. I'm sure there's a lot more opportunity out there in Los Angeles, similar to a guy like Kawhi wanting to go to a bigger market like that versus what they might get in Norman. Are there any guys on that current roster that you think might get pulled to USC that you'd really love to see stay in Norman?
Caleb Williams is one. I mean, he is a freshman. He's a true freshman. But my gut tells me this morning, and it told me yesterday, that Spencer Rattler is going to ride that portal train out to USC. I really think Lincoln had something with Spencer, and I also saw the movement of the fans booing, wanting Caleb at that time, and the pressure that Lincoln had to have with Caleb, because I started doubting towards the last couple games, why is Caleb in there? He looks lost. His throws are off, and Spencer's more of he has a slump in the beginning of the season, and he's pretty dead on towards the end. But I would say the biggest name probably that we'll hear out of there is Spencer transferring out and going to USC. I mean, but we're also looking at the defensive coordinator going out there. We're looking at the wide receivers coaches going out there. I mean, you're losing a whole staff. You're going to have to bring somebody in that's established, and then you got to look at who that person is and who they can bring in to the University of Oklahoma and start playing under He's the Crimson Cream.
So, all right, as we talk about Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley making the leap from OU to USC, talking with Dillon Emery, the blue-collar sports dad. You just said, Dillon, Oklahoma needs to bring in someone who is established. Again, no one is as hardcore of an Oklahoma Sooner partisan, rabid fan supporter as you are. If you could choose, who would be the next head coach at Oklahoma? Would you stick with Bob Stoops? I mean, the offensive coordinator at USC, he was a hot commodity a year ago. Graham Harrell, given his roots to Texas, and obviously a lot of recruiting in the Texas area. And I'm even hearing Cliff Kingsbury at Arizona. Would he give up the Cardinals head coaching position for the opportunity if he saw how big it could be to be the Sooners head coach and be successful in the SEC? If the president of Oklahoma University got you on the phone and said, Dillon Emery, who do you recommend? Where should we go? Who should we target? Who would you like to be the next head coach?
Mike Leach.
Wow.
Mike Leach. And the reason for that being is that man, he knows the media. He knows how to recruit. He was pushed out of Texas Tech for no reason. You can ask any of the Texas Tech fans that I know that they would love to see him back. Mike Leach has been there before. And where did he get his offense from? From Oklahoma. What did he bring out of Oklahoma when he was there? He brought out that 50-point offense. You know, Mike Leach is a guy that could do it. Is he too old? Is it too washed up now? You know, being at Mississippi State that he is. But I like the name Mike Leach. I think that him, OU equals sexy and funny, and that's what you need nowadays.
Wow, Shannon, that is an outside the box pick.
Yeah, that's not a name I was thinking of, but it is pretty fantastic. And when we talk about this, obviously we've got Bob Stoops stepping in to coach the bowl game. Want to know how you feel about that, and then when you think there might be some coaching news from Oklahoma, prior to a bowl game, after a bowl game, or even later down the line.
You know, I think it could happen prior to the bowl game. I like the fact that Bob Stoops is going to come in and he's going to coach the system. He knows the system. He's been around the system. It was his system for 20 years. You know, when you hand the keys off to somebody and the little teenage boy doesn't want their car anymore, you go back and you know how to drive the car and get it down the road where it needs to be. It'll be an emotional bowl game because it doesn't really matter. Like you said, Shannon, it was kind of a disappointing season having those 2 losses in the Big 12. And I think emotion carries this team. I'm kind of looking forward to it, guys, that maybe OU comes down here to San Antonio. And wouldn't that just be fun for all the media down here to have OU here for the very first time in the Alamo Bowl? And then you have Bob Stoops here, and you have all the Oklahoma rumors going on and who's going to be the coach. That would be a fun time for the Alamo Bowl. And I think you're going to see a lot of fans travel, because I feel bad for the kids that are on the team. I mean, these guys are leaving like thieves in the night. You've got these kids that still want to finish the season. Bowl games do count for these kids. You know, and then you just have kind of a sucker punch to your gut that these coaches basically gave up on you. And they want to go start fresh somewhere else, and they're just leaving you there. And if you transfer, you transfer. And if you don't, oh, wow, good riddance. And by the way, Alex Grinch going to USC, Chris, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm sorry. That guy cannot do a defense. He's overrated. I don't know why Lincoln wants him to go. But good luck with Alex Grinch up at USC.
Thank you for the warning as we speak with Dillon Emery, the blue-collar sports dad. You know, you mentioned Mike Leach as your outside the box, and you don't term it as outside the box. You gave good reasoning. I love Mike Leach. I'm a huge fan of Mike Leach. I would maybe even become a sort of closet Oklahoma Sooner fan if Mike Leach became the head coach there. And in the Pac-12, I saw what he did at Washington State with Gardner Minshew not long ago, and they made a lot of noise and put up a lot of points and won a lot of games. But I want to ask you about this. My outside-the-box coaching candidate for OU, a week ago on this show, I was speculating that he could be an outside-the-box head coach for USC. And when I say his name, you're going to laugh, but I want to compare him to Pete Carroll, and that name is Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett, head coach of the Cowboys, it did not go well. Offensive coordinator of the Giants, it did not go well. But Pete Carroll when he was in the NFL, he had a bad run as the Jets coach for just 1 year. He was a defensive coordinator with the 49ers, and then he had 2 bad years as the head coach of the New England Patriots. As a USC Trojan, Dillon, when we hired Pete Carroll, I and a lot of alums said, Pete Carroll, are you kidding me? I don't like that hire. As it turned out, Pete Carroll at that time was a much better suited to be a college football coach than he was an NFL coach. And then he, as we all saw, parlayed that into the Seahawks, went to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. Do you think I'm out of my mind to say that Jason Garrett might not be a bad choice for the Oklahoma Sooners?
I don't think you're out of your mind on that. I mean, I think you have to look at the level of play. Like you said, when Pete Carroll went to USC, I was with you, Chris. I was like, why is he going to go there? Like, that's no way that, but it fit. It worked. National titles were done. You had key players come out of USC. Let's not forget, Nick Saban sucked at the NFL and coaching. And look at him now. I mean, it's the level of the coach where they can be successful at. I don't think Lincoln Riley will ever be in the NFL. I think he knows that. I think he's aware of that. But Jason Garrett might not be a bad choice, and I kind of feel awkward saying that. But when you kind of look at it and you think about it, it could just work, and Jason Garrett could find a home up in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah, and he was an NFL quarterback. He could be a quarterback whisperer on the college level. I mean, all those years as the Cowboys coach, Dallas not so far away from Norman. I think he would certainly have some gravitas. Dillon Emery, the blue-collar sports dad. Dillon, and I know, I think you were in, are you still in New Orleans? I saw on social media you and your lovely lady were in New Orleans this weekend. How was New Orleans for you?
Oh, it was great until all the news came down with Lincoln, and then I went over to a voodoo shop. So good luck, boys. But at the same time, it was a great time. We went to the Thursday night football game. Unfortunately, the Saints didn't show up, but we got to see Drew. And I'm back in San Antonio. I arrived last night, and taking the day off today to reminisce and I guess try to cry my own tears with Lincoln.
So now, I got to ask you, because you were off this weekend in New Orleans, I would imagine your blue collar sports dad show might be quite volatile. Are you going to be on the air this Sunday with the blue collar sports dad show?
Oh yeah, we're going to be on the air. I think I'm even filling in this week. Some of the days in the afternoon for Mike Taylor. I've got to look at my schedule, because when you go on vacation mode, Chris, you just turn everything off, right? You have to turn everything back on and get back to it. But yeah, Sunday we will be on the radio, on the air again. We took 2 weeks off, but it's going to be fiery. It always fiery.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's a great show, 10 a.m. to noon on Sundays on Ticket 760 in San Antonio. If you're outside San Antonio, you can catch it on the iHeartRadio app. And I saw some video of biggest Puma Sam Freese now in Hawaii with Mike Taylor. So things could get, those two guys could wind up in jail. So Dillon, you need to be on call. You may be doing all week on the Mike Taylor show from 4 to 7. So pay attention, not only to listen to Mike if he's there, because it's a great show, but Dillon Emery might show up. Dillon, I feel your pain. I feel so weird, because here I am celebrating Lincoln Riley coming to USC, and you are on the other end of that, having and like you say, thieves in the night, hopping on airplanes, still in their OU gear, flying out to the West Coast. It is so weird from your perspective, for you and Oklahoma fans like Andy Everett. I feel bad for you guys, but we sure do appreciate your willingness to jump in here and share your thoughts with us at one of the darkest moments for you as a Sooners fan. Less than 24 hours for you to digest this. Thanks so much, man. We sure do appreciate it.
Anytime, guys, and always, Boomer Sooner and Go Spurs Go.
I am with you on the Go Spurs Go. But if Mike Leach became the head coach, I might say, if Shannon wasn't listening, I might say the BS.
Careful.
All right, fair enough. If Mike Leach becomes the head coach at Oklahoma, I'll wear the T-shirt one day. Our thanks to Dillon Emery. By the way, he is a great social media follow on Twitter at BC Sports Dad. He's got a great page on Facebook, Blue Collar Sports Dad. Shannon, he did not drop any F-bombs, and we did not lose the FCC license during that segment. So I think that's a minor victory for us.
I'll take that. I'll take little wins.
Yes, Little Victories, which is a great J.D. Souther song, by the way. All right, quick break. We will dive. We haven't talked a lot about Dallas Cowboys. Is the dream okay?
We
The
don't
dream
have to
of
talk
the
about it.
perfect season is over for UTSA. Should the dream be over for Cowboys fans like Shannon and like me now that they've lost 3 out of 4? The Cowboys have lost 3 and they lost 2 at home against teams they should have beaten. The Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. Should we have any confidence that they're going to win a home playoff game? I'm losing my confidence and losing my religion, REM. We'll talk about Dallas Cowboys and more. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Kolak making the show go with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Frank Ramirez, good morning. Let's see. Neff Ozuna writes, Riley to USC is smart. He would just be average in the SEC. I think he can turn around USC, and there's a lot of talent in California, and you get to live in California versus Cowtown, Oklahoma all day. Yeah, when Pete Carroll was the USC coach, he had a beach house in Malibu. So, a beach house in Malibu is kind of nice. Fred, I'm losing confidence in the Cowboys. I'm just saying. Let me get a little more ice for the final segment here. I'll be back in a sec. Woo! Woo! Mike Taylor, ladies and gentlemen. And the Mike Taylor dancers.
When Sandra doesn't talk to a mattress firm sleep expert, Jump Sleep presses the wrong buttons in her brain. And Sandra presses the wrong buttons in the elevator. Leading to a dreadful journey for her and the accountants now headed up to floor 42. 7, 8, 9. While Sandra avoids eye contact, let's reflect on how a better mattress would have led to real sleep. If you need real sleep, head to Mattress Firm and unjump your sleep today.
Woo! Thank you, Mike Taylor.
If you enjoy alcohol, chances are at some point you get hungover, torn up, in the room. Well, here's a little.
Bernard Trefan says, everyone loves Mike Taylor, the Mike Taylor elf. All right, Fred, I see you're just delusional. And, you know, I get backing the boys 100%, but to assume they're going to win the rest of their games, Let's pull up that Cowboys schedule, shall we? You can't beat the Raiders in your house. You can't beat the Broncos in your house. So coming up for the Cowboys. At the Saints, Thursday night. It's the Saints. It's Sean Payton. It's never easy. At Washington. Washington playing better. At the Giants. Didn't the Giants beat the Eagles yesterday? Washington again. Arizona Cardinals. You can't beat the Broncos or the Raiders in your house, and you're going to beat the Arizona Cardinals. And you close out the season at Philadelphia. Never easy to play at Philly. I hope you're right. I'm a Cowboys fan. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left. And you believe that they are going to win them all. They did win 6 after losing to the Buccaneers. They went on a 6-game winning streak. They have lost 3 of their last 4. Any team that has lost 3 out of 4, and then you're going to assume they'll win 6 in a row after losing 3 out of 4, almost never happens in sports. There you go. Now you're downgrading it to 5-1. Yeah, Jason, I saw your photos of hanging out with Lester Hayes. That's way cool. Lester Hayes, man, he was a stud. He was pretty amazing. Andy Everett just texted me. I got to reply to a... So Andy Everett says Kellen Moore is a thought for the next head coach at Oklahoma. So we'll bring that up. Here we come. Final segment.
Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Very nice, Jeremy. Losing My Religion by REM. I am losing my religion for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Cowboys freak, but you lose 3 out of 4. I don't know, man. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon, before we dive into some Cowboys talk, Andy Everett, who, and I said this earlier, the 2 resident Oklahoma Sooner fanatics, alums, partisans are DILLON, EMERY, and Andy Everett. And Andy is often more, Andy's very, Shannon, you've worked with him many times. We have him on the show every week. Andy is very reasoned with his football and sports takes. He's reasonable. He's thoughtful. He's reasoned. He's calm. He's cool, calm, and collected. Whereas DILLON EMERY, like me, tends to get a little, a little crazy sometimes when Kawhi is brought up or something like that. Anyway, Andy texted me, Shannon. We were talking about, I said Jason Garrett might be an outside-the-box head coaching candidate for the Oklahoma Sooners. Andy says, what about Kellen Moore? What about Dallas? What? Young.
Can't have him.
Offensive mind, quarterback whisperer. Dak loves him. Kellen Moore could make some noise at OU. What do you think about OU going after Kellen Moore?
I think for OU it would be great, but considering that Kellen Moore didn't want the head coaching job at Boise State, his alma mater, to stay with the Cowboys. Norman?
Yeah.
I guess they'd probably pay him a little more, but no. I think he's got a shot to be a head coach in the NFL, and he's on the right trajectory. And Kellen Moore seems like too much of a nice guy, too. I don't know that he can handle everything else that comes with being the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. It's a lot.
I do get that. When I see him, when I see Kellen Moore on the sideline, Shannon, I don't see gravitas. I see a nice guy.
Right.
I don't see a fiery head coach.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But for this situation, I'm going to say pass.
But I would say that, you said he turned down his alma mater, Boise State. Well, Oklahoma, obviously, in the SEC, much, much bigger of an opportunity to me than even Boise State, even though he's a Boise State grad. So, if you look at blue blood schools, there may be 10 schools, maybe less, but there may be 10 schools: Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, OU. There's 10 schools that are oh my God, I could coach there. I don't think even though you're a grad, I don't think you think that about Boise State. But someone offers you Oklahoma, I think you certainly listen. So anyway, before we get into the Cowboys, because I don't want to run out of time, because I didn't know this, Shannon, this is kind of a big deal. This afternoon, you and your buddy, Mike Hardball Harge, going to join forces to rock the airwaves. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Mike Taylor on vacation, so I'll be back in studio from 4 to 7 this afternoon. Harge, for those that listen to the Sports Grind, he'll stick around, and we obviously go way back. We're really good friends. We go to birthday parties and outings, and I go to his crawfish boil every year. I don't even eat crawfish, so we've got a pretty good rapport. And it's the Mike Taylor show, so they don't talk a ton of sports, so it'll probably be a little bit of life and everything. Harge and I typically during that time frame are at cover 2, having some drinks. So I figure it'll feel like that minus the alcohol, because I think the boss would frown upon that if we turned up in the afternoon.
You can talk to the boss and say, hey man, this is our happy hour. If we're going to do this, we have some demands.
But we'd love for everyone to join us on Ticket 760 and 1300 The Zone. And Jeremy will be there, I hear, for the first couple of hours.
First couple of hours helping us.
How cool is that? Well, I will tune in.
I can't tell you how excited I am.
Yes. Very, very cool.
Have you met Harge? Via the radio?
Not officially. I've been in the room, pushing buttons for Harge, but not with his knowledge, I don't think. And I had supervision over me. So I didn't have to talk to him or anything yet. So I have not formally introduced myself to Harge. Hopefully I could do that today.
Yeah.
So you should have said, Harge, don't you know who I am? I'm
right.
I'm Jeremy Kolak, man.
Well, maybe I'll do that today.
I was the sports
covering the
editor
Big
at
12
Oklahoma
Covering the
State.
Big 12
Right.
game for
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
But I'm
All
looking
right,
forward to
Shannon. Jeremy played Losing My Religion. One of my religions is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. When you lose 3 out of 4, and they have, when you lose home games to the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders, and they have, and oh, by the way, neither of those teams is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Kansas City Chiefs, which you did lose to at Arrowhead, or the Green Bay Packers, or any of these teams that are formidable in the NFL this season. I just think I suddenly, Shannon, after Thanksgiving and seeing them lose 3 of 4, and you've lost 2 home games to teams that are not all that, the Broncos and the Raiders, I have no confidence. Cowboys, especially with the Eagles losing yesterday, thank you, New York Giants, for the favor. Cowboys didn't lose any ground in the NFC East after losing on Thanksgiving to the Raiders. So the Cowboys almost certainly will still win the NFC East and have a home game in the playoffs, probably be against the Rams. We'll see. I have no confidence that this Cowboys team is going to do anything other than what they've done under Jason Garrett when they go to the playoffs, and that's be one and done. Are you feeling good about the Dallas Cowboys this morning?
Not great, especially, losing 3 out of the last 4 and them being games that you should have won, especially when they're at home. You mentioned the outlook right now would be for them to play the Rams. I think just given the Rams and their name and the guys they've got on that roster, and obviously the additions that they've received just during this season, that sounds scary, but so far they haven't put it together either. So I do like those odds a little bit better, but you're right. I mean, the way the Cowboys started, even the loss was to open the season against Tampa Bay was, still tough to swallow, but easy to understand and gave you some hope of look what they could potentially do this season. They start 6-1, and I don't know what the answer is right now. The penalties I'm looking at from this weekend, 14 penalties for 166 yards. I know that 4 of those were on PIs, which is ridiculous and kind of a problem that the Cowboys suffered with a little bit last year, which is why we felt like we needed to shake up in that secondary. So there's a lot of things that they need to get under control. I'm hoping it's just kind of like the mid-season kind of rough patch, that they'll get things turned around, that they didn't eat too much turkey over the holiday, and that they'll be back and ready to go come this weekend. Because right now I don't have a ton of I'm going to need to see more, because right now it does feel like I'm back to living the years that we were so used to of going 8-8, because 7-4 right now for the Cowboys. And I know we should win the NFC East handedly, but again, like you said, that doesn't mean we'll go deep in the playoffs. And I would very much like to win at least one playoff game, at least one.
Yeah. And you said come this weekend. The weekend comes very early on Thursday night football at New Orleans against the Saints. And Shannon, you bring up the 14 penalties. I have always believed, and I think it's true, when a team commits excessive penalties like that, and these 14 penalties, that's coaching. That's lack of discipline. That's lack of coaching. And certainly and I hate to say that, you mentioned the pass interference penalties. A lot of times the Cowboys defensive back, all he had to do was turn around and look for the ball, and the call might not have been made. I hate to say that, because I've been very impressed with what Dan Quinn has done with this defense, his first year as Cowboys defensive coordinator. But they really, and they've got just a week from Thanksgiving Thursday to this Thursday, which is now just 3 days away, to do some soul searching. And they're at New Orleans, and I know, with Jameis Winston out and with Drew Brees retired, I think this, as Dylan Emery mentioned, he was at the last game against the Bills. The Saints have not been winning, but still at the Superdome, Sean Payton coaching, that's a hostile environment. That's not going to be an easy win for the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are kind of desperate for it. If the Cowboys lose that one, you and I believe they're a shoe-in for the NFC East. Thank goodness the Eagles lost yesterday. If the Cowboys keep losing and they've lost 3 out of 4, they could open the door. They've got a lot of division games coming up, and they close the regular season against the Eagles. They could fumble their way into blowing a slam dunk division championship that we were sure of just a week or two ago.
I mean, and that's what, like, as Cowboys fans, we're so familiar with, right? It coming down to those last couple games of the season and then becoming so stressful. Them taking care of business earlier in the season this year, it felt like, okay, we've got the NFC East secured, which means we will be in the playoffs. Now we're playing for home field advantage. That seems out of the way now. I think now you just want to get this team right and get this team set. And like you mentioned, disciplined and ready to go when that time does come. We just spoke with DILLON. He was in New Orleans. He went to the Saints game. They played the Bills. Bills ended up winning that one. So the Saints are going to want to win this one just as much as the Cowboys here. And like you said, they've got that home field advantage. We talked about UTSA filling the Alamo Dome. What is it called? The Caesars Superdome. Not an easy place to play especially on a Thursday night, prime time. The Cowboys are going to have to do a lot here, and part of that, let's get some touchdowns going, because those seem to be harder and harder to come by for them as of late.
Meanwhile, Shannon, I know we're up against it, but the New England Patriots, I watched them play the Titans yesterday. And, while the Cowboys flounder and they get our hopes up and then they usually disappoint us, Patriots, they lose Tom Brady. They try the experiment with Cam Newton for a year. They go get Mac Jones, and here they are 8-4. They have won 6 in a row. They play the Bills this coming weekend, I believe, at Buffalo. Buffalo's a half a game back at 7-4, but you got to just tip your hat to Bill Belichick, whether you like him or not. The job he's done with the Patriots, they continue to amaze me. And he's, Brady went off and proved he's a big deal. He can do it without Belichick. Belichick now proving, hey, I can do it without Brady. Mac Jones, what an amazing rookie season he's having.
Yeah, I remember earlier in the season when it was Tampa Bay coming to play the Patriots, and there was that giant billboard of Bill's record without Brady, and everyone kind of excited to have him back as a return game. But it's great. That was only a season, right? I think usually when you lose a franchise quarterback, for most teams, it takes a while to get it back together. And it took 1 year of kind of floundering. They find this guy in Mac Jones, who seems to look the part, at least right now during the season. I mean, he could be successful for this franchise, and having him be with a guy like Bill Belichick, we may just be back to the Patriots always winning in the AFC. It's quite something. And, I don't know if I love it or hate it, because obviously I think Tom Brady, for me, was tied so much with those winning Patriots that I just got tired of both of them. I don't know if I'm ready yet for the Patriots to be back in the limelight as much as they were with Tom.
All right. Well, before we jet out of here on a Manic Monday, our poll question asked what the biggest sports shocker of the Thanksgiving weekend was. Shannon, what did we learn this morning from the poll question?
Plenty of votes coming in on this Monday morning. 64% are still saying Lincoln Riley going to USC is the biggest shocker of the weekend, followed by that North Texas defeat over UTSA to clinch their own bowl and give UTSA their one loss on the season. That's 21% of the vote. 7% now saying that Ohio State game, with Michigan winning in the snow, giving Harbaugh his first win over Ohio State since his residency at 7%, and 6% saying Raiders beating the Cowboys. I guess I don't know if that's sad to be like, people are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal because it's the Cowboys. Is that where we are already? Are we there? I hope not.
I hope not. Shannon, you will be back on this radio, on these airwaves at 4:00 with Mike Harge doing the Mike Taylor Show. Outstanding. Get a little bit of rest, and we'll be listening at 4.
I look forward to it. I'll be here.
Jeremy, congratulations. Oklahoma State wins, and you send Lincoln Riley packing forever.
Wonderful week.
Out of the state of Oklahoma.
Out of the state, out of the region.
Good for you. And, by the way, at USC, we'll take him. We'll take him off your hands. We'll take Lincoln Riley. Our thanks as well to Jeff TRAYLOR, UTSA head football coach. He joined us earlier in the show, earlier than usual, because the team is practicing right now. DILLON EMERY, the blue-collar sports dad, outstanding as well. Have yourself a fantastic Monday. Listen to Shannon and Harge at 4:00 on the Mike Taylor Show. We will see you again in 21 hours. Adios, amigos. Thank you, Fred. Pablo, Jason, Fred, Fernando, Bernard, Leo, anybody who might be here. Adios. I'm doing the Spurs game tonight, so we will see you. Jason, it was well, we get a B+ from Jason. Too much Oklahoma today. Jason, it was kind of a big story, so we had to cover it. But hey, man, I'll take the B+. Thank you for that. All right, y'all. We will see you later. Adios. Have a great Monday. I will see you on Spurs React after the game. Pablo says it's a loss. They can't handle Bradley Beal. Come on, Pablo. Go Spurs, go. Spurs are winning 2 in a row. Pablo, the Spurs will win tonight. Mark my words. All right. See you later.